go live. Boom. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are back. We are live. It's another Freaky Friday already. Can you believe it? And yes, with me today we've got Scotty Lopez and the man, the myth, the legend. It is Nacy, the man that goes by many, many names. Yes, indeed. So it's going to be a good show tonight. And if you tuned into last night's Kev Baker show, you'll know where we're going today. We're going down. We're going to dumb you down. And we're going to go digging for the truth about what lies beneath. Yes, indeed. That very interesting kind of start there, Scott. I hope that sets us up well. How you doing, man?
I am doing absolutely fantastic, and another Friday is upon us. And yes, are you ready to get dumbed down, people? Because it's going to be a good conversation today. It's been a while since we've gotten into this particular corner of the woo. You know, I like it. I like it. This is kind of like some old school stuff too. This is like old school kind of Art Bell, old school coast to coast AM kind of topic and discussion. So
that's where we're going, Scott. That's where we're taking Freaky Friday. We're gonna go up against these powerhouses that coast to coast. I bet you they're absolutely tremoring over there, knowing that we have our sights set on them, man, like laser beams. In fact, like one of these coring machines that's used to dig down to make the dums, dum. Yes, deep underground military bases. Kevin, Nacy, you're anticipating a good conversation here as well, right?
Oh no, here we go, down the rabbit hole. But
no
was
rabbits,
it a rabbit
no rabbits.
that
It's
made
way
it?
Too big. That's a big rabbit. Big rabbits, dude. Big rabbits.
Or was it the United States Air Force with those incredible drilling machines? Because how deep shall we go? Because I'm the dumbest person here tonight, but how DUMB is the state of dazed and confused, otherwise known as America.
Absolutely. And of course, if you want to get your shout out, head on over to the aptly named Wookie Cave. Yes, you can find that over at the home of Freaky Friday, Truth Frequency Radio, tfrlive.com, where we give you protection from deception. And on a Friday, we give you a plethora of the paranormal, the supernatural, and all the kind of things that make you go, woo. Yes, indeed, because we have 3 hours in front of us right now. And then Brent Thomas comes along, takes you through the portal, the paranormal portal for 2 hours. So head on over to tfrlive.com/chat if you want to get your name added to the roll call. And yes, Scott, to come back to what you were saying, very old school, conspiracy 101 type stuff. This is a type of thing, actually, that I remember having the odd conversation about even when I was back in the army, man. Some of the facilities that we wouldn't get to know about, and some of the things that goes on, and yeah, man, it is interesting.
Well, I mean, it's not even stuff that, say I would say a person with a quote unquote conspirator, that's conspiratorially minded, has to, think about. Like, obviously, there's a level of secrecy that governments, hold on to, and keep information away from the public just on the basis of a national security standpoint, right? So, the government does hide things from people. Most governments do hide things from their populations. So that to sit there and think, well, okay, with the military, has a hidden base underground somewhere. That's not a wild stretch of the imagination. Of course,
it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. Yeah. A no-brainer, and but then here's the thing. I mean, but to what extent? Because we know that they do hide stuff from us, and they obviously don't want any of these locations known. So the number of these locations is unknown. To what extent, they're actually doing it is unknown. How big these facilities are,
you see, we don't know. There's a void. There's a void, and we operate in the voids. So we do. Yes, where there's a gap of information. The Freaky Friday team, we excel in overturning some of the rocks that beneath them will lie little chestnuts, little nuggets of gold, Scott. And then under other rocks that we turn up, it'll be either our own rabbit hole we're about to crawl into, or somebody else's. It's that kind of fun game we can have with this,
Exactly. And for every hidden underground military base that the U.S. has, there's probably one for Russia as well, or even more. Who knows? I mean,
I'll leave Russia out of it. Come on now, leave Russia out of it. We're having less of that. Let's move over to the Wookie cave before he blows my cover here. Yeah, they don't come as proud for nothing.
Is the Wookie here?
The Wookie is here. The Wookie is here, but he is slowly making his way down to the level that we're at, and he will be announcing his arrival probably after the break. But he is on his way, and we sent the chair back up for him, but he's awfully scared. The Wookie doesn't like coming underground. But in our bunker underground over at TFR Live, we have got me, we've got Sophia, we've got our own private room, so we do. Hey, ask him questions. We've got Bam, we've got Nightshade, Cold Brews, Waffle Buddy. You don't get waffles where we're going tonight, folks, I'm telling you. Onslow, Ra, but not Ra. Ra with an H, it's Ra. Paradoxical anomaly. We've got some Dave who's convinced he's a psycho. He's been telling me he's a psycho for at least 321 weeks now. And we've got Rio. Big shout out to Rio. We've got a hacker in there. Oh, don't you just take the night off, dude. Next 3 hours or so, don't be hacking anything, right? Confident specimen. Is that like as opposed to your counterpart over there, the very timorous specimen? I don't know. Oh, Scottish Ross sneaking in there, moving the list, confusing me greatly. We've also got a great citizen. I like that. You should get an award for that, for being a great citizen. Scott, whoa! that kind of completes the lineup for today. And Scott's wearing face masks and things, so dang, it's going to be one of these days. So listen,
I just figured if we had a hacker in the Wookie cave, you know, I would
go hackerish on us. Yes.
Yeah, a little hacker. Okay,
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Now, that nearly threw me all wrong. Where are we going? So, listen. Last night we started this conversation, Scott, didn't we? We were talking about Phil Schneider. We were talking about the documentary that I'd actually watched on Amazon Prime. It's called Underground Director's Cut. It's about an hour long. A lot of the Philip Schneider information I'd kind of heard about, people talking about in the past. But that really gave me a kind of deeper appreciation of who the character was, and not just the stuff that he was talking about, but some of the interesting things his family were involved with as well. So we kicked off this subject last night talking about the deep underground military bases. And Kevin, I kind of sent you an idea that we were going to be getting into this topic. And I know that this is something that you really are very enthusiastic about. So what springs to mind when you hear the dum-de-dum-dum-dum of deep underground military bases?
Well, the first time that I went spelunking down this tunnel, I got caught in an oubliette for a very long period of time. But I first heard about it as I followed William or Bill Cooper, and I heard him talking about Alternative 3. And so then Alternative 3 brought me to the acronym DUMB, Deep Underground Military Bases, and that brought me to Richard Saunders in his incredible book, Underground Military Bases, which also overlapped with Phil Schneider. And then, then of course it brings you to the Denver airport. Then it brings you to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And then, of course, you find those alien ships in Area 51. And then you just keep going deeper and deeper. And who knows if we can get on that electromagnetic transport from Washington disease to Cheyenne Mountain in moments, in minutes, or do we go all the way through Middle Earth to the other side? Because no one will get out alive in the end of it all.
It's funny you mentioned Cheyenne Mountain there, because I was watching Stargate today. Yeah, still watch Stargate. Hey, you can't get enough Stargate SG-1, folks. And then it went on to Atlantis as well, both of which I can equally enjoy. But Stargate, the first one, Cheyenne Mountain, shows you that in there. They thank the military a lot in that show as well. And I suppose, arguably, Scotty, Cheyenne Mountain, the most famous underground installation. As opposed, well, maybe Area 51. You can toss the two up, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the one you can point to and go, look, we obviously have the ability to do it because Cheyenne Mountain literally is an underground base. It's built under a mountain. So, it's the most kind of famous or iconic one that people know about. But you got to figure that these things are probably all over the place in strategic locations all over the United States, and there's probably multiple in each state. So it's just a matter of how many are there. And you got to figure, if there's that many, then they all have to be connected by underground tunnels. I think there's an entire network, pretty much underground. Like it's almost like an entirely separate layer of activity and everything, infrastructure that's underneath us, which is kind of wild to think about. It's almost like there's an entire we talk about what breakaway civilization, Kev, right? Who's to say that the breakaway civilization isn't operating underground? Why do they have to be off-world? You know what I
Cheyenne
mean?
Mountain,
Yeah,
2,000 feet deep, solid granite.
yeah. We're looking at this as well right now, Kev. We've got the nuclear-powered Air Force drilling apparatus that they use. You know, you can even think people of, if you're old enough, you'll remember when they made the Channel Tunnel over here. There's various types of tunneling, boring machines, devices, whatever you want to call them, to make this very feasible. And like Scott was saying, and I know, Kev, that you'll speak to this as well, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, from a military point of view, and then also you get into the continuity of government thing, you know, something bad happens, God forbid. You know, the people in power, they've got plans, and usually they don't include all of us. And their plans are to get underground. I believe even in the White House, so like, it's an underground bunker if everything went all wrong, you know. So it's definitely, it's not as if we're speculating wildly here. These things are definitely real. The question is, how vast? How interconnected? How do you travel between them? The other type of stuff that goes on, like Scott was saying, the kind of breakaway stuff. I think that's where a lot of the high-tech physics that would look like magic to us goes on, guys, to be honest with you. Yeah.
If that image is the one that I recollect from Richard Saunders' book, I believe it was 1993 or 92. Now imagine that. How many years ago was that? And how exponentially our technology growth is to what they have now.
Well, you know, you think about that, and then last night, Scott, we mentioned the bad guys, World War II. They infamously had a thing going with tunnels as well, and some of the vast networks that they built. And then last night we got into how Project Paperclip, those same engineers that ended up going across to America in the late 40s, they could have been at this for a whole long time. Who knows how vast this network is?
And then that contrast of United States. I'm sorry, Scott, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you know, Kev's right. It's like he said yesterday, you know, when we were talking about paperclip, you know, people, their immediate, their mind goes to, oh, you know, rocket scientists and stuff like that, like von Braun. But no, a lot of their engineers that were involved in creating their deep underground military facilities, you know, the Axis, the bad guys side, you know, they brought that knowledge over to the U.S., you know, from paperclip. So we had that extensive knowledge in our toolkit, I guess you could say. And then I mean, look, on top of that, we also had the Cold War, right? And then there was a need to build underground. You know, you had a bunch of nuclear fallout shelters being built all across the United States, and then going back to the whole continuity of government thing in case there was a nuclear strike from Russia, then you would have to have some continuity of government, some place to operate from, if the surface was irradiated from a nuclear strike. So you definitely saw a ramp up of underground facilities being built during the, you know, the 50s, the 60s, and who knows, you know, even beyond there. But I mean, hell, here in Kansas, you know, we got silos that are, you know, old ICBM silos that are in farmers' fields and stuff that go deep underground, you know, where Minuteman missiles would, you know, fly up. And so, yeah, it's just a matter of, you know, how extensive is the network? How have they how far along have they progressed and ahead of everybody do you think they are? That's the thing. You know, I always say I always think about like 70 years ahead in technology is probably like what's going on down there.
Could
You
be,
know,
could be, dude.
something, yeah,
And who,
something along
and who
that line.
knows who else might be down there as well. You know, it might not
Yeah,
just be us
yeah,
humans that are going down there. And we've got 3 hours.
exactly.
We can definitely get to that.
Yeah.
But you know, often when we talk about the underground bases, sorry, we kind of concentrate on the US. Sometimes you hear of the stories about tunnels that connect the US with Pine Gap in Australia. Now, I'm not here to tell you they exist. I'm just telling you that's what sometimes you hear talk of. How that works in my mind, all sorts of crazy physics goes off. But that's for another day, maybe later on. But over here in the UK, and our man Jason, first paranormal, who's been on here and wooed us with all the tales of the little people down in Cornwall and things like that. He has gotten into urban exploration in the last kind of 6 months or so. And I would imagine he's probably explored some of the UK's network of decommissioned older underground facilities that were around at the time of World War II. And I was taking a look around today and I found this article over here. It's from the BBC. It was published last year, October. The UK's rumoured subterranean network. So it says here that in 2017, newly published land registry data revealed 4 million kilometres of networks and telecommunication lines underneath London. That's London alone, right? Many of which were secretly constructed by the Post Office, British Telecom, and the Ministry of Defence. It's an astonishing time capsule down there. These mysterious Cold War era tunnel systems and underground chambers, which number in the hundreds, have been a source of fascination for decades, yet until recently, authorities remained conspicuously secretive about them, many owned by the Ministry of Defence and never publicly acknowledged. Well, I would have to ask myself when I'm reading this, what caused the change of heart? How come they're able to tell us about all these old ones they used to have? That suggests to me, Speculation Island, that they've got a brand new network. But hey, what would we know?
According to Richard Saunders and his investigation on this, that he found out because after we fought the boogeyman of that World War II, that we found out that they had all of these deep underground military bases, and this Salvador, I think his name was Salvador, something like that. We captured him, and we debriefed him or whatever, and then all of a sudden we started in America building these bases, and I think it was called underground plant program, you know, and they're still doing it because
Absolutely.
It's logical. I remember there was some incident that happened in Washington, D.C., and they talked about the shadow government, you know, in the event of, you know, some attack on our country's government. They had this area where they put certain people in for, as you stated earlier, that continuity of government.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why I know they've got to have it over here in the UK, and I think they've got a new one. I'm just going to squeeze in a bit more here. It says the most intriguing revelation was of the Postmaster General's secret tunnel beneath the heart of the government at 57 Whitehall. It was built to protect machinery and communications from the threat of atom bombs in the Cold War, and the bunker emerges into the basement of the old War Office, once used by Winston Churchill. In 2014, the Raffles Hotel chain bought the 54,000 square mile, or yes, square mile square meter, that must be, grade 2 listed building from the Ministry of Defence for £350 million, named the OWO, the London landmark, is set to open as one of the highest profile hotels in 2022. Now, if it's a high profile hotel, I'll tell you what else is going to be absolutely so convenient about these tunnels underneath it, is the fact that all of these hotels, Scotty boy, every capital city, all of them are absolutely, they're infested with bugs. The electronic kind of bugs. Because of the type of clientele that can only afford to stay in a 5-star hotel in central London. That attracts a certain level of person, you know?
Very, very espionage, James Bondy, spy game stuff going on in those kind of locations, right? And and then it's conveniently located right above these tunnels and everything that's connected to the old Ministry of Defense war room and all of this stuff. And it's like, chances are, if you're checking into that hotel, let's just say your privacy is not being very well respected.
Check it for bugs. Right. Absolutely. Now, we're almost on the break, folks. We're almost on the break. And when we come back, we're going to get even deeper into some of the underground information. I've got some more on Phil Schneider. Scotty, he's got the underground base that he was talking about last night, and he's got a heck of a long list of underground bases in the US as well.
We can just cherry pick whatever out of there.
Nacy, and as we get later on into the show, so I'm forewarning you here, Nacy, we're going to be going like back in time. We want to hear about some of the ancient stories about maybe tunnels under the ground, people under the ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you see, this is shaping up. This is we're not going to dumb you down, folks. Anyone who thought that when we first started today's show, oh heck no. We're going to give you a plethora, a smorgasbord of woo. The rival coast
One thing for sure.
Yep.
One thing for sure, that if you don't come back after the break, you're not going to get the whole thing. So right now, all you got was a little bit of the tip.
The tip of the woo iceberg. I don't know. I take a look around me tonight, and I don't know, Scott, Kev, I don't know if many of these people can handle our woo. Yeah, exactly. I'm talking to you out there. Can you really handle our woo? We're going to go deep, deep, dumb underground. Yes, we'll be right back. There we go, ladies, gentlemen of YouTube, time travelers, interdimensional creepers, I don't know, trans-dimensional crawlers.
So I had to do a little bit of a facepalm the other day, and because my mom stumbled upon a particular YouTube channel, and I was like, oh no, don't get your don't get hooked into that. But let's just say it's a YouTube channel, Kev, that you're familiar with, and it involves time travelers.
Oh dearie me! Did they go all the way to Australia? Was it our Australian time travel outfit?
Yes. My mom was watching a video.
Dear
and I was
Lord.
like, hey, what's that YouTube channel? And
you got to take your hat off to them, though. I mean, listen.
Yes.
As much as they do mind nothing, there's a particular channel that have, like, I don't know, at last count, maybe a couple of hundred time travelers have turned up from varying amounts of time in the future, usually to 2,000, 3,000 years. Still insist on having their faces blacked out for some strange reason. Probably because people that went to school with them on our timeline right now will recognize them. But hey, you got to take your hat off. They're consistent, man. How many years have they been, like, I used to get really triggered by them, dude. Really. Until I just, no more.
It's interesting that you said about your hat, because I forgot to put my woo cap on tonight, so we'll see how soon
we'll
that
lose
comes
Kev
about.
After an hour. We're going to lose Kev after an hour, Scott. He ain't going to handle it, man. Dude, we've told you before, you can't come into this without your woo cap on. Come on.
I know, but my buddy came over
Amateurs.
prior to the show.
Amateurs.
And we sat and we had a little session, and he actually shared with me, because he's ex-military. And I said, hey, tonight we're going to talk about this. What can you tell me? And we'll maybe get into that if you remind me later on.
I'm going to remind you when we get back from the break. That sounds like a brilliant setup, Kev. I'm telling you, man. That was sounding
I have to
good
go back.
there, my boy. Sounding good.
I got to go back to my my notes, and I have to take a little quick break, and so I'll unmute shortly.
No problem, my man. No problem. We're still here. We're waiting to go back to the network. Yes. I've updated it a little, Scott. The bit where the guy didn't jump out the ground is now gone. He's now crawling about like a maniac. Aye. Telling you.
It's a grade A intro, Kev.
Anne actually got disturbed by it earlier on today. Literally, she was quite disturbed to the point where I thought, oh, how dark am I to make this? What does this say about me? Don't answer that question, ladies and gents. It's a rhetorical one. We all know the answer. It ain't good.
If it disturbed Anne, then you did your job.
Yes, it's very disturbing. That and the fact I creep around the house whispering in her ear in a creepy voice probably does it, you know? Here we go, folks. Here we go. There we go. Second part of today's Freaky Friday, and just like that, he made it. He made it. I was having my doubts, Scott. He got halfway down. He was looking down and going, why? Why do you need a Wookie down there? What use is a Wookie where these boys are going tonight? Because we're going down. We're going dumb down, Scott, ain't we? All the way.
Yeah, the Wookiees are more familiar with the forest. They're more of the 411 situation. The Dumbs, it's outside of the Wookiee's comfort zone. It's not his natural habitat, so he had to kind of adjust to the new surroundings in his new environment. That's why he's a little late. He's trying to acclimate himself. He's not used to these high tech underground facilities. You know, he's used to the woods and being able to snatch people through portals. You know,
I've seen these videos of Scott, like you mentioned, like these vast complexes, but some of the videos are like trucks driving in. And there's like just roads going off to the left, off to the right.
I'm saying it's like it's an entirely separate underground.
It's a world. It's an underworld, man.
Yeah, it's underworld. Literal. It's a
Can
civilization.
you imagine when they're going down there? Do you think it's like almost akin to the rings on a tree? Like when you get so far down, you start finding evidence of like maybe the Victorian era. And you start going further down and you start going back hundreds of years. And then you reach certain levels. Now you're talking, oh boy, we're detecting things here like thousands of years old. Oh.
Well, that's something I've always brought up before. Like, we're just uncovering a lot of this stuff in Egypt, right? Pyramids and tombs.
They found an entire chapter of the Book of the Dead yesterday, Scott, in Saqqara. Well, it wasn't yesterday, but I talked about it then.
But then here's the question. What was that built on top of? And like you said, it's like the rings of a tree. If you keep going down, how many layers are there? And how many times have we gone through this cycle, of reset, reboot, rebuild, then have to start fresh all over again?
You're freaking me out, dudes.
Nice. That's like
right. It feels like we haven't even left the port yet. And somehow Scotty got the chronovisor along with the dilithium crystals.
You need some of them,
the
brother.
flux capacitor.
You definitely need that dilithium. Absolutely.
And then from the Philadelphia experiment, we used the 4 stalls motor, and we're like already over the port bow, I can see Speculation Island. So,
But
Scotty, what have you done to the engines
You know what
to
it
the
is?
ship?
You know what it is? It's because we sail through one of these special triangles between the port and between Speculation Island. So sometimes it takes weeks to get there, but other times you get there in 10 minutes. And it's been 10 minutes today. You see it? Yeah, we had that mist come down, Scott. Zzz,
so you're saying Speculation Island is the node point on one of these triangle situations?
It's actually, if you were to draw a straight line into the middle from each of the 3 nodes, that's Speculation Island, right in the middle.
Oh, Speculation Island is located in the center of the triangle.
Everyone knows that the apex is where the most woo.
So we could say not off the starboard, but definitely off the portal bow.
Hang
We
on.
can get to Speculation Island quicker.
And do you know how we get there? We get there on the
PPP.
USS Eldridge, ladies and gentlemen. We take the Eldridge. Some make it, some don't. But everyone, I'm rest assured, no matter how many timelines we end up on, we'll live to tell the tale, right?
So as we were talking during the break,
Yes.
if you want, I'll
remembered
share that.
Yes, please do, Kev.
Yeah. So earlier today, there's a dear friend of mine that comes over and we get to share space. We're both ex-military, and he saw some stuff that he shares with me, and he confirms things with me. And we were talking. I said, today we're going to talk about underground bases. Have you been to any? And he laughed because he was a driver for the Top Dogs, 4 stars.
Okay, so now drivers, definitely. Now we're looking at potential. Okay, come on, hit me with it.
So I can't confirm or deny that I may or may not have been told today underground Fort Benning, Georgia.
Wow.
He had an experience.
You know, I would imagine Georgia, because of Atlanta, head of the CDC. I love zombie programs. They must have an underground facility there. They have to.
Well, if we speculate, in order to have a deep underground military bases, you have to have a structure that can support it. You know, when you understand, like Jordan Maxwell used to talk about, you have to go underneath to see if your ceiling can stand the weight upon it. And so if you're going to be doing these underground military bases, you have to know what is below so it can support these structures. Just like we're talking about that equal triangle, and in Egypt, it's an incredible coincidence that the underground bedrock can actually support that structure there. So would it not be the same logic that to build these Cheyenne mountains, you have to have this entire granite mountain in order to bore? Am I boring you all yet?
Never. That's one thing you would never do, my brother. Definitely no. But there's going to be a lot of boring going on tonight, but we won't make it boring, Scott.
Indeed. I think the whole concept of, subterranean, of humans going underground, is a common theme. It's not like this is something new that we have done. I mean, we're talking about these dumbs, and these are a more modern incarnation of a lot of the things that we've done in the past, and humanity has went underground many times in the past to for whatever reason, whether it be to hide and evade maybe an enemy, an opposing force, out of the necessity of survival. I mean, just an even a very glaringly obvious sort of example would be like the VC in Vietnam. They had a very extensive network of tunnels that went all throughout Vietnam, and it was very, very hard to fight them, right? Because you don't have any way of knowing where they're at. Surveillance cameras from aircraft and stuff like that can't detect anything other than maybe the entrances and the exits of tunnels, but you don't know what's going on underneath, you know. So but I mean, this goes back thousands of years, you know, and there's like an extensive underground city that they discovered in Turkey, right? I believe it's not too far from Göbekli Tepe.
Scott,
right?
no way. No way. I'm not gonna. There, look.
Ah, dang.
It's Derinkiyu.
synchronicity.
Yeah, Derinkiyu or Derinkiyu. That's what I was looking for there, dude. And what's interesting about these tunnels, and I'll post the picture to TFR, is that these are the ones that link directly to Scotland. And they're like 11,000 years old, throwing us into Göbekli Tepe times, and there's like ornate little places to sit and circles carved out, holes in the wall. What on earth is going on? What technology's used to do this, you know?
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. And so the whole thing of going underground, you know, this is a concept that's been around for a long, long time. And so there's obviously some benefit to it. And on a, you know, if we're talking about a cycle here, if we start seeing a point to where a lot of humanity for some reason wants to start going underground, or at least the elites, Kev, want to start going underground, you think that would be kind of like a canary in the coal mine kind of moment? Like, you know, back then, if you were just some average dude and all of a sudden you started seeing kind of the high priesthood, the elites, if you will, of that time, starting to organize gigantic underground building projects for some reason, you know, and getting everyone mobilized to start building underground. Maybe back then you go, why are we doing this? What's the reason for it? You know, I always try to like put myself in like try to envision what I would be thinking if I existed at that time as just an average, you know, and all of a sudden, like, there's this need to start going underground for whatever reason. You know, it would probably raise a few red flags with me, I would say. Like, what's coming? What are they preparing for?
One of those challenges that we have through our social conditioning is a lot of us speculate that back in the day, it was Ugg and Og. You know, how long ago was it really when there was Ugg and Og? You know, with the age of what they claim that this Earth is, there could have been a million different civilizations.
Now we're talking, dude. Now we're talking. I do think that. I do.
And so as the Earth goes through its changes, then if that civilization rises and falls, then when we go digging underground, we find the remains of these ancient civilizations. And if it disturbs the narrative that we've been conditioned for the continuity of the narrative, we can't tell everybody. Because if everybody knew that there really was a Middle Earth, how would they psychologically, emotionally, mentally handle that? And then you speculate, why did they build these underground areas? Why were they utilized? Then when you look in the Southwest and you talk to the Olmec and the Toltec, and you hear about their stories where they were told to go underground because of what's going to happen, and we'll tell you when to come back to the surface.
That's what I'm saying. If you were the average dude and all of a sudden you started seeing like everybody scrambling and mobilizing to start going underground for whatever reason.
What do you think? Like, Göbekli Tepe. I love to think about that place. But what do we think? What was the impetus? What was it they were like? Why did they start? I mean, the place that they built, and then they decided to like just fill it in. I mean, what was that? What did they know was coming?
You know what? Now here's. I wonder if they covered it up. You know, because I mean, obviously they proved that somebody did cover it up. I mean, it was intentionally buried.
And it's just the tip, Scott. It's just the tip. Only 10% is exposed. Literally, I'm not even being crude. It's the tip. Yeah.
Now I wonder if they did that in order to preserve it. Like
they a time capsule?
Like a time capsule.
Yeah.
They wanted somebody to eventually come back and uncover it, and they wanted it to be protected from whatever cataclysm was about to occur, right? So if you bury something and you just cover it in earth, chances are it's going to survive whatever is going to take place.
So there was...
No, go ahead, man.
There was this old horror movie. It was called The Keep, and it talked about those bad guys in Europe, and they found this underground tunnel, and they found these doors to it, and they opened it up, and there was a warning, don't open this up. And they opened it up, and inside was pure evil. And so they were trying to trap that pure evil into this underground tunnel system.
Well, let me ask you then, Kev. Let me ask you this, because this fits here. I was going to get into this later on. I was going to ask both of you. I mean, I'm not a Bible expert. I've never claimed to be. But do we literally, like, has hell got a geographical location on this planet underground? Or is it a different dimension altogether, you know? Because when you're talking evil there, I don't know. There could be.
Well, in my opinion, Kev, the location of hell is in Stoll, Kansas, but that's
yes,
for
technically it is underground.
that's
at least a portal.
Yep.
Yeah, yes, that's a whole different episode altogether. But no, I mean, hell is always represented as like down below, the underworld, the fiery pits, if you will,
underneath CERN, man, underneath CERN.
Underneath CERN.
Just think of CERN like a big plug. If you were to lift that the size of CERN out the ground, it'd be like a tornado of these things just escaping rapid style, boys. Making noises like that and everything.
I have some mind melting speculation woo grinding away in my mind that I might throw out here in just a minute.
Okay, do it. Let Kev go. Let your simmer stew, Scott. Go on, and now Kev, go for it, man.
So if we try to make it simplex with you talking about hell.
You have to, for me, Kev. You have to make it as simple as heck. Dumb it down, literally.
No, I call it simplex. So it's so simple that we make it complex. And I stole that from the angry photographer. So I'm a hack.
I like that.
So if we think of hell as negative, in the spectrum of positive, neutral, and negative. So hell would definitely, I think we would agree, be negative. So if we dig deep enough to where there is this place of negativity, if we get there, these people or these entities that are in this place of negativity, if we give them the opportunity to create a portal for them to come out, do you think they're going to stay where it's negative, or do you think they're going to try to get the hell out? And then what's going to happen when they get the hell out? Then won't hell be here on the surface?
Dude, since I've been a young boy, I have had an inkling in my mind that we're already in hell. This is hell. It has to be. The rules are rigged against us. Everything's about struggle, and I tell you, it just feels to me like I think we might already be there. Doesn't mean we can't get out. We just dip our toe into it, maybe. Somebody goes, right, you've had a look, you really want to go back there? Oh, hell no. See, that's where that comes from. Oh, hell no, Scott. See, that is where you're woo, man. Come on. I'm losing the plot.
Well, you know, there's also like the representation of like the pits of hell opening up, right? And like demons and whatnot spewing forth from the ground, you know, coming up from the depths, you know. I mean, it's that imagery. I mean, come on, I'm a metalhead, so I mean, all of this is just awesome album cover material for me right now. But no, I mean, going back to the bit of woo I had kind of grinding away in my head. Let's set sail, my friends. Let's
Anchors up, anchors up.
anchors up. So we are inbound.
We've been dragging the dock because we've already left.
We've not even left the holodeck, Kev. Shh. We're all in there, man. We're immersed. Come on, Scotty.
No, yeah, we're still in the boat simulator. We haven't even jumped in the ship yet.
James, get me
fine.
off this crazy thing.
Two segments in, and already the hat is at the 10 o'clock position. We're in trouble, folks. You know, we've gone deep early, Scott.
Yes, indeed. So, you know, we were getting into the discussion of, you know, yesterday we were kind of touching upon it about the whole alien thing, right? And could they be emerging from within as opposed to
Without? Out with?
yeah, from somewhere else, right? Are they actually coming from inner Earth, or what I would consider like porous Earth or something like that? You know, this cavernous Earth.
We like the cavernous Earth theory. I can picture it in my mind. It's got vast areas where you could just, oh, you know, it's all there, man.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if we have a highly advanced civilizations that could exist, you know, under the surface, and you know, maybe these UFO sightings where you see lights and stuff emerging from the side of mountains and all of that, you know, where we're talking about these things coming from within the planet as opposed to, you know, interplanetary travel. So it got me thinking, you know, we see a lot of these characters, you know, that, you know, maybe their story's legit, maybe not, you know, you just got to take them for what they say, you know, about these meetings with aliens, right, down in these dumbs and all of that. Now, here's what got my brain tickled and grinding away a little bit. What if these dumbs, Kev, are meeting points halfway between? You know, like
I got you, dude. Yeah, they come up, we go down.
Yeah, they come
man.
up, go down, and it's sort of a neutral. What would you call it? Like
no man's land.
A neutral zone where both parties can negotiate. You know,
Yeah,
kind
like
of
that bit in between North and South Korea where they've got the office
Yes.
that the
Yes.
sister went crazy on. Yeah, man.
So if we're talking about, you know, these meetings with these, I'm going to say extraterrestrials, but maybe they're just interterrestrials. We'll call them that. Maybe that's what some of these dumbs are. Maybe they're these kind of neutral halfway meeting points between.
Oh, can I give you more, Scott? Can I build on your framework you've given here? Think it this way, right? I know that the most famous photograph online, the guy stood by the Stargate. I know it's fake, okay? I know it comes from, like, it's meant to be the early 1900s where they were excavating things. But let's just say, what if there are ancient Stargates? Like we see in Stargate 1. And what if, like Kevin and Scott and I have been theorizing, not even theorizing, hypothesizing, having speculation about is true? What if the layers, it's like a tree, you know, you go deep enough down, you might hit a layer where the stargates were in play. And possibly on one of these excavations. And bear in mind that the bad guys in World War II, they were doing it not just for the hell of it. Yeah, it makes strategic sense, but they were also like Indiana Jones treasure hunter type woo collecting dudes. And on their travels, they got some Tibetan information about what we're talking about here. Civilizations, things still going on. Not off-world, in-world. Again, it's speculation. Can I prove any of it? No, I can't. But something about it resonates and rings true. The rings, the stargates might be down there, Scott. They might even have come across them. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean the stargates could be some of the high technology of these inner world
Previous, yeah. Ones that are still on the go, ones we've lost. Who knows?
You know, Atlantean technology. You know, any of that stuff. I mean, it. Who knows, man? But no, that was just an interesting little thought I had that I found to be kind of seemed to make a little sense if we were going to talk about it from that aspect point of, you know, you have a lot of these people that claim that there's these meetings between, you know, humans and these other entities.
If we also throw in, and me and you have talked about this for hundreds of hours probably, Scotty, and Kev as well when we've had him on, because he brings in the Paleo-American knowledge, and we know that mountains, right? We've talked about mountains being stargates, and we've often speculated about just rock in general. And if you're starting to go down beneath the planet, you know, in these porous areas, you might be looking at somewhere that's absolutely perfect for some kind of interdimensional travel, because you're surrounded in that rock. Hey, who knows, dude? One mountain, you go in the cave and you come out another cave, only you ain't here anymore. You definitely ain't in Kansas anymore. We'll be back after the break with more from Scotty, Kev, and me, the other Kev, on Freaky Friday. Oh, you were lucky there, Nacy. You were lucky there, man. I hovered. I almost got it wrong. I do that all the time, dude. All the time. Yes.
Yeah, imagine that, Kev. Like this network of crystalline teleportation nodes that are located all over you know, areas under mountains or something like that, where, you know, you walk into a room and you're just surrounded by quartz crystal that is all focused in one particular, you know, thing, and all of a sudden, whoop, you're underneath another mountain somewhere on the other side of the planet.
How I keep talking when I keep sharing about how technology is trying to mimic the natural cycle. And if you think of like two people talking and how that happens, you know, when you whistle, that air is coming out in front of you, and it's not in your mouth that it's formed. It's beyond your mouth. So if you notice, like when you whistle and the closer you put your finger to your mouth, you disrupt that swirl, that tornado that comes out of your mouth and creates the tone. So if you think technologically, where we have a wave that goes from one transmitter to one receiver, at these ley line points, or when you create these portals, whether we call, in my people, we call them sweat lodges, are lodges, and especially if you put them on ley lines, like you're talking, Scotty, we're teleporting from one place to the other.
Oh, that's deep. Now let me butt in here, because We have had a super chat. Yes, we have, from our good friend Jules. So I'm going to play that right here, right now. I think it might be me dancing. I hope not. Here we go. Hopefully. Play, dagnabbit, play. Okay, okay. Let me add in. There we go.
There's.
There's.
Look.
Yeah. Is it even going to read it? Did I get it wrong? Hang on, we'll do it again. We have to watch me do that again. I know it's disturbing, folks. It's not big, it's not clever, but... There we go.
Happy birthday at One Pollination. Smoke 'em if you got 'em and help our brothers celebrate another joyous trip around the sun.
Right, and we're getting it again now. There you go, there you go. Then we'll... Polly's birthday, man.
Happy
Wow.
birthday at One Pollination. Smoke 'em if you got 'em and help our brothers celebrate another joyous trip around the sun.
Absolutely, my friend. Oh my goodness, here we go.
Can I be anal retentive?
If you must.
Well, we are just the tip, you know. But being anal retentive, it is not his birthday. It is his birth date recognition.
Oh, yeah, wait, come on, man. Come on, dude.
Come on, man.
There we go. Where are we? Nearly that time. What are you eating, Kevin? All I can hear is like paper rustling or something eating, or what do you think? Making me hungry. I don't know about anything else.
Well, since I'm not quite straightening my cap, I thought I would get to the stem of the business.
Ah, indeed. Yes. Right.
And
Let's
so,
bring
I'm
it
sorry.
back. There we go. Just like that, 1 hour. It's gone already. Time moves different when you're deep underground, obviously. You know, I was talking last night on the show about when I went potholing in the army. And it literally, I know it sounds so cliche, but it is a different world down there. You can easily forget where on Earth, in fact, you could easily imagine where off Earth you actually are down there. It's like an alien world, Scott. Truly, truly is. You got all the stalagmites, the stalactites, and then all of the different geological and the features, and then you start to appreciate the time, these rocks, how long they've all... Dude, it's just mind-blowing, man. Mind-blowing.
Kevin, you first told me that you were in the... Oh, sorry, Scotty.
No. Go ahead.
When you first told me you were in the military, sir, I was not wanting to be insultive of your vertical challenge, but right away that's what I thought when you joined. They were like, oh, we got us a tunnel rat, because they do literally try to find more people smaller in stature in order to weave out and check out these tunnels in the event they come across them.
No, you're right. But no, I was too busy learning Morse code and talking or learning about things that I can't even tell you about here, folks. Can't even tell you about it. You know, Scott, I have to take people out if I let them in on some of the secret equipment I was working on, and this leads to rumours like Lee Veltman saying I work for 77th Brigade, and you know, you gotta keep the woo going, Scott. You gotta keep people wondering. You gotta keep them wondering, you know.
Hey, as long as you provided the KGB with enough intel on what those, what the Brits were doing, you know.
Shh. Now you're really gonna get me into trouble. So anywho, moving on, right? I found this during one of the last segments, and this is blowing my mind. I don't remember covering this before, but it's definitely worthy of bringing up tonight, because we're talking, at one point there we were saying 11,000 years ago, when we were talking about the tunnels between Turkey, Scotland, some of the underground work as well that you see over in Turkey. And I tell you, the stuff we were looking at in that Turkish underground city, if I hadn't known it was Turkey, it looks very like some of the underground tunnels that exist between, get this, Edinburgh and Rosslyn Chapel. Oh, I know, dude. I know it's weird, but they're very reminiscent. It's almost like the same person designed it or built it. But that's 11,000 years ago when we go to Göbekli Tepe. What if we take it back to 1,000,000 years ago? Now, I'm going to post a picture. Oh, look, I like that. Both Kevin and Scott are just silenced. I'm going to post this picture over at TFR. And then I'm going to tell people all about this place.
It's those carvings that are very interesting.
Isn't it? Right, here we go. So it says here, most archaeologists and historians agree that human civilization only emerged some 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. Yet many researchers have drawn attention to artifacts and various other evidence of advanced civilizations long before this, even millions of years earlier. Among them is Dr. Alexander Koltyepin. Sounds like a good Russian man there, a geologist and director at the Natural Science Research Center at Moscow's International Independent University of Ecology and Pilotology. Koltyepin, has analysed ancient underground structures from across the Mediterranean and identifies similarities that lead him to believe the sites were once connected. Furthermore, the weathering of the structures, their material composition, and the geological features and historic changes in the region lead him to believe that they were built by an advanced civilization hundreds of thousands or millions of years ago. Archaeologists working in the region usually date the sites by looking at the settlements located on them or nearby. But these settlements were simply built upon existing prehistoric structures. Now that kind of backs up what we've been saying for the first hour in the show. And it makes sense. You know, people come, they build their things, whatever happens, they move away, they go, they rise, they fall. Next people's come, they build on top, and you keep going. And we're actually getting that from this Russian genius that we're quoting here. So it says, quote, "When we examined the constructions, none of us, never for a moment, had a doubt that they were much older than the ruins of Canaanite, Philistine, Hebraic, Roman, Byzantine, and other cities and settlements that are placed on it and around," he wrote on his website. He climbed a hill about 1,300 foot high near the Hervat Bergen ruins in Adullam Grove Nature Reserve, central Israel. Now, as he looked over the site, he recalled a similar feeling from when he had climbed to the top of the rock city, Kavusin, in Turkey. I was personally convinced once again that all these rectangular indentations, man-made underground structures, and scattered debris of megaliths were one underground terrestrial megalithic complex, which was opened by erosion to a depth of several hundred meters. Not all parts of the purported complex are still underground. Some have come far above ground with the geological shifts throughout history. The ancient rocky towns of Cappadocia in Turkey, for example, which Koltyepin includes in the complex. This is like something that stretches across a vast swathe of Europe into the Middle East, Turkey, who knows how big, right? And it says some parts may also be found under the Mediterranean Sea, as is indicated by structures along the coast. In central and northern Israel and central Turkey, Koltyepin estimates the sites were exposed after an erosive cut into the earth of several hundred meters. What could cause that? An asteroid? Something? I don't know. Something cut into the Earth? So according to my estimates, such depths of erosion could hardly be formed in less time than 500,000 to a million years. So it's worn away.
He was talking about erosion,
Yeah.
the cut of erosion over, over hundreds of thousands of years. And for it to erode down to that level to expose that would have had to taken at least, 500 to a million years, which would then suggest that those were some really, really old structures, far older than anything that, we've been taught.
Even thinking about, I don't think any of us were thinking this far back tonight, right? He hypothesizes that part of the complex was brought to the surface as the result of alpine orogeny, mountain formation. The composition of building materials at a site in Antalya, Turkey, which Colt Yippen calls the Yernokleve site, are some of the 500,000 to 1 million years old by his estimate. Archaeologists usually date the man-made structures at that site, Yernokleve, to the Middle Ages, but Colt Yippen says the materials indicate a much older age. What he identifies as a pink cement includes in it man-made ceramic fragments of basalts and of volcanic origin, among other materials. The last time an active volcano would have been present in the region to provide the basalts would have been 500,000 to 1 million years ago. It says underwater. As a result of the Earth's crust moving over distant ages, parts of the underground complex have been plunged under sea level. Particularly in all the studied underground constructions of Israel and in the majority of underground constructions of Turkey, sediments of lithified, and that's hard, calcareous clay deposits are widely developed on their floor. And the nature of these deposits suggests that the complex was underwater for a long time. The similar megalithic ruins at various sites are part of what led Colt Yippen to surmise a connection between the sites, united in a giant prehistoric complex. Wow. Megalithic blocks weighing tens of tons seem to have at some point likely been attached directly to the underground constructions, he said. This circumstance gave me reason to call the underground structures and geographically related ruins of Cyclopean walls and buildings as a single underground terrestrial megalithic complex. Shows you entrances to the place here. Says the megalithic constructions seem to surpass the technological capabilities of the civilizations conventionally thought to have built them. For example, it remains a mystery how the 800-ton megaliths at Baalbek, Lebanon, were transported from a quarry to their present location. The stones...
That's a big block.
Big block.
That's a big chunk of rock to be moving.
Big time. The rocks fit together perfectly in some parts without cement, and the ceilings, columns, arches, gates, and other elements seem beyond the work of men with chisels, Colt Yippen said. And the chisel marks, usually said to show they were built in more recent times, occur only in some parts of the structures and seem to have been etched there long after the original structures were built, he said. He noted that the structures built on or near the sites by the Romans or other civilizations are comparatively primitive. It is within a context of other findings suggesting advanced prehistoric civilizations that Colt Yippen puts forth his hypothesis. And remember, folks, it's just an idea. For example, he has studied ancient ruts that crisscross the Phrygian Valley of Turkey and inferred that they are tracks of an unknown antediluvian all-terrain vehicles. Petrified in
Whoa.
stones from millions of years ago. I
So-
love this
so
guy.
So basically, we have like petrified track marks, essentially from a vehicle of some sort. That's very interesting.
That's wild. Kev, what do you make
That's
of all that,
very
man?
wild.
What do you make of that?
Well, it just kind of validates that, civilizations rise and civilizations fall. And what do they do to keep it going?
Well, I tell you what, right? I'm telling you what, Kev, for the benefit, I mean, obviously, Kev, I'm going to describe to you what we're looking at, right? We're looking at the Fijian Valley of Turkey. And it looks to me, if I didn't know, right, if somebody showed me this, I would say this was like a motocross track. Something where there's like motorcycles, something like that, across a dirt road, and then it's dried out, it's mud. But these are like ancient.
Yeah, it's not mud. It's actually solidified rock. Or
It's petrified rock.
Petrified
Right,
rock,
and
but
it makes me think about the dinosaur tracks right next to the human footprints.
Yep, that all plays into it. That's all yep.
Look at these things, man.
It literally looks like a trail where a bunch of off-road vehicles, tear through there and put a rut through where the wheels go, and that's very interesting. Yeah. If you were to just show me that and be like, hey, what's that? I'd be like, yeah, it looks like a motocross trail or something, ATV trail, something like that.
When you think of the wheel, it doesn't really seem like a super complex thought. You cut a tree down and you see it start rolling. If the way that my ancestors, when they would, they would take off all the branches, they cut a tree down, and you would imagine somebody would see it roll a couple feet, and then they'd be like, oh, yeah. So the concept of a wheel doesn't seem so illogical. And if you have a way to push something or pull something, and then you have that technology, and so ATV of the future running on dilithium crystals or just a quartz crystal?
My mind is blowing. My mind is blowing. This Fijian. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Phrygian or Phrygian Valley of Turkey. This is mind blowing. How have I not talked about this before? Wait, you see some. Where is it now? Hang on. Where did we go? That's the wrong one. There it is. Wait till you see some of the places in this. Look at this. This is like all built into like the side of a mountain. Oh, load up, please. Look. It's not going to make it any bigger. Damn them. But you can just see some of the pictures here. This here, Kev, we're looking at something. It looks like the edge of a church. It looks like the gable end of a church with a doorway in it. And then it's just like somebody's come along and just cut the building off it. Made out of pure stone.
Yeah.
Might source so I can see the picture real quick.
Oh,
It
hang
makes
on.
me also
Here we go. There we go. We'll put this
It
over.
also makes me think of Star Trek, or not Star Trek, but Star Wars, where the clone army was made at that unknown location. So if they've had the ability of cloning for the last 60 years, because in Europe, actually in United Kingdom, they were cloning mud skippers back in the 80s or 70s. So if they've had that technology and they could clone a human, who's to say in one of these deep underground military bases is, just an army just waiting to come out from hell for the powers of negativity to gain greater control?
Now you see, now you've gone way even beyond Speculation Island for me. That's even over the horizon from what I can see on Speculation Island. It just is. Don't. I won't sleep well at night, even contemplating things like that, Kevin. Don't do that to me. But
Well,
I'm looking
remember
at
that
things
horror
here.
movie, Chud?
These things, I mean, look, there's a thing here. It's like, it looks like the top of a mountain. And then it's got like the hollowed out holes in it. Like you can go inside it. And then you got this big, what the heck is that thing there? It's like the side of a building in the face of a cliff.
That reminds me of, is it Jordan?
Yeah, Jordan out in the desert and things. There's weird things going on.
Yeah, it has that same sort of a vibe, that's kind of thing where you have these.
And then you've got obviously you've got like the things that look like wheels that were driving things around, all around these things, you know?
Yeah, it literally looks.
What the heck is that? Glitches in the simulation, man. It's just like, hang on a minute. It just stopped rendering that, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like if you were to use a procedural generation to generate some scenery or something, and it glitched and it just like accidentally rendered in a door in the side of a mountain or something.
I mean, that
like
looks
that.
like it could be an actual building that's fossilized. That looks like a fossilized building.
This is Star Trek Insurrection, where they had the hologram in front of the observatory when they were checking out that so-called civilization that was primitive, and data went crazy, and all of a sudden his holographic suit, he had full disclosure of his head. If you remember that one. Was it Insurrection? It might have been Insurrection. But yeah, who's to say? You hear of these UFOs where allegedly they look like they go right into the side of the cliff, and I've even heard stories of helicopters going into the side of a cliff where people thought they were going to crash, and there's no kaboom.
That thing just looks like a big fossilized building, man. Back in the day, that would have looked something special, I'm telling you.
Well then, Kev, you know what? Are we gonna have to put Joe Joseph's mud fossils back on the table?
Nah,
then?
I'm not going that far. I'm not going to say caves are literally. We're not walking inside the veins of giants. I'm not ready to go there yet. If I'm not comfortable to go with Kev's clone army, I ain't going with that either, man. No.
Hey, you know
I
you know
that
that
dude out. He's off his head, man.
I know. Yes, I know.
He
But you know,
says
Joe
he's like
Joseph
confirmed by science and things, and he just isn't.
Joe would be loving this conversation right now, though.
He would.
You know,
Ange would be loving it. She'd be
Yeah.
going, see that Kev Baker and that Scott Lopez. I told him this years ago. You didn't tell me that there was a fossilized building. I claim that one myself. I'm taking that. Come on, man. Kev, this looks like it could have been a building with barnacles on it. Okay, now I like confirmation bias and pareidolia. I'm seeing more of the building than was ever there to begin with. I get that. I get it. Okay, but hey, good work.
It is very interesting, and I think this lends more credence to the fact that there are these. See.
Now, you see what's interesting about this? Sorry, Scott, but if I just put this up here, right away, I can see similarities to South America, where they cut out the squares and then a square within a square.
Yeah.
It's like that site in South America where they've got like the H-shaped blocks, and some people say it's almost like a runway. Yeah. That's
what I actually thought that was at first. I thought that you were showing a picture of Pumapunku out there, but it's
the Phrygian Valley again.
Phrygian Valley. So
why have we not heard of this Phrygian Valley? Is this the Phrygian Valley effect? Look at that. That's stupid. That's wrong looking again.
Dude, there's something going on, man. And
look at that. There's actually beasts. That's like two lions on the side of it, dude.
It's like two.
Do you guys remember a gentleman by the name of Robert Ghostwolf?
No, but that's a brilliant name.
Good
Robert,
name.
oh, please tell me he was born that way. Please, come on.
That I do not know, but so allegedly Robert Ghostwolf, he was a half-breed like myself, and I don't mean to trigger anybody with that word, but allegedly in Colorado, some Native Americans or Paleo-American elders told him to go up into the mountains, and he went up into the mountains and he found these statues that were Egyptian in nature. And they were like griffins and huge humanoid shapes. And he found like a complex. And he said that he was going to reveal it before 2012. And then he just, all of a sudden, the whole so-called truth movement attacked him. And I can't remember specifically what it was for, but it was Robert Ghostwolf. And he was going to do a huge exploration of the mountains in Colorado and share this area of where he went and took these pictures.
Wow.
Oh.
You know, so that's what it sounds like you're explaining to me.
Thing, though, right? Here's the thing. I enjoy talking about this with you and with Scott. I don't trust anyone out there. Anyone I know. Like, we could go to, like, people that talk about this as in, like, they've been firsthand. Because, you know what? We talked about Phil Schneider last night, Scotty. And there's some things you can talk about on YouTube. There are some things that'll get you in trouble in the real world. And Phil Schneider, what he was talking about, well, hey, you can make your mind up what happened to Phil. Jury's out for me. But I just find that, like I say, I enjoy talking about it with friends, but there's nobody out there I would like bring onto the show, like confidently, that's had first-hand experience this. What do you say to that, though, Scott? Am I just being too skeptical, too cynical?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you have Doc Miller on, and Doc said some.
Doc I can go with. Doc I can go. Yeah, Doc I can go.
Yeah.
His stories don't grow and change over time. He tells you about the base down in Antarctica. Some stuff he still hasn't told us. He's kind of got a track record you can trace there, though, right? Again, that's not like some of these other ones.
Yeah. See, no, go ahead, man.
If we look at the full spectrum of it, you know, to where on one side it's absolute woo, and the other side is the truth. You know, how do we stay in the middle of it? You know, because it's too easy to oscillate back and forth. So come back after the break.
You stay in
and
the
we'll
middle.
fill you in.
Yeah, I'll keep us in the middle by avoiding some of these more fantastical characters. Calling the ambassador. Anyone? I'm only joking. We'll be back after the break. Don't go anywhere.
But I didn't even know you. I was so. I thought you hung up. I was like, what?
The ambassador will know. He would know. Him and his ninjas, man. They've got an underground base. I know it.
But you know, I also think it's kind of like, it's very similar to when you're trying to navigate the whole world of the whole like TI topic.
Yep. That's why, again, I like talking about that, but it's hard. I work with Ella Free. She does a show. She also hosts a call twice a week where TIs call in and things. And I've often spoke to Ella about this. And I've seen things in the time working with Ella that somebody there, I've had Ella on the show. But like you say, it's like quicksand. You don't know.
Yeah, it's a very, very tough thing to navigate, and it's very hard to. It's almost impossible to distinguish who's legit, who's not, because that's the entire nature of that topic to begin with.
Be exactly like that. That's what's weird, right?
That, you know,
the regurgitation, the regurgitation of stories in this community, this truth movement is abundantly there. And a lot of people, you know, and maybe it's because of their own hubris or ego, they get caught up with like, this is the first you've heard about it. But all I did was repackage it and give it a new label and shared it.
There's only one type of movement that comes from the bowel. Yes, indeed. But no, again, I would love for you, the audience out there, I mean, I'd love to bring people on that I would confidently say maybe has some kind of experience with these things. Unfortunately, the type of people that have worked on these things, they're like deep in it. Literally, pardon the pun, like building these bases, something like that. I would say once you're in one of these companies and things, there's only one way out, and it's feet first. Some of these jobs that we're talking about, some of the people that have experienced some of the things that we would want the testimony of, literally, this is the stuff that you don't get to go and talk about, folks, or accidents happen, you know?
Have you, for anybody who doubts that, go look into the mysterious deaths revolving around the scientists who worked for, I believe it was called Marconi.
Yeah, do you know I worked for them when I got out of the army, Scott?
Really?
Oh, the conspiracy deepens on Baker, so it does. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that Mr. Baker was a Marconi employee.
They were snapping up soldiers, dude. Signals guys, they were snapping them up, man. It was over here we've got like big green boxes on the end of each street, like a little miniature exchange. And I remember doing some that got sent to Glasgow. So the ironic thing was I was living in England at the time, and I'm now living in a place where I probably put the telecom box on the end of the street. Oh, Baker's into telecom boxes on the end of the street. Oh boy. Wait till Veltman finds this one out. Oh boy.
Yes, the documents.
I absolutely agree with you, Kev, because
yes, we're back from the break, Mr. Nacy. Mr. Nacy, I'm telling you, he's on his horse tonight. He's there, he's eager, he's chomping at the bit. What were you going to say, my brother? Go for it.
Well, as we were talking about during the break, you know, of after people of the military, they get out of the military. If the government has already spent money on doing a background check on you, they are instantly going to try to grab you and give you that carrot and say, hey, if you join this alphabet agency, we'll give you this kind of reward. But as you speculate, and I agree, once you get involved and once you go so deep, you know, you aren't getting out. And I remember Mr. Sticky and Icky when he was talking about that individual that allegedly had something attached to his heart, that he was told, you play along. And I'll share this with you. And I've told you about this before, about being in Diego Garcia in the middle of the ocean. While I was in Diego Garcia, I met an individual that I saw a tattoo because he had a tank top on. I saw a tattoo, and we engaged in conversation, and he validated my speculations. And they were talking about that there are government officials that will do things that they have a radio transmitter on a little thing that's up next to one of their arteries in their neck. And if they violate what they're supposed to do, a radio signal could be sent, and it would cause this little thing to erupt, causing one of your major arteries to bust open and flood your brain within seconds. And it's all over.
Ooh, just like that, Kev, all over. Gone, just like that. I thought Scott had gone there, he got disappeared from the call. I thought they were going to take us out one by one, folks. This is the stuff you can't talk about, but we're talking about it here on YouTube and TFR, so
not again.
Yeah. I'm just freaked out. I've got a good friend of mine, ZX, digital friend, the virtual world. He runs our Discord server, because I can't, that's for sure. But we've got these amazing kind of sinks. We're both 76ers. Hey, 76ers. Now we're discovering that he worked in the Leicester factory place for Marconi in the 90s when I was in the Coventry one. Leicester and Coventry are two cities in England that are like side by side. It's crazy. Dude, it's just these weird synchronicities that we find with the people we connect with right now. Kind of freaks me out. Kind of makes me think that all of this was meant to be and predestined. My whole life's been leading to a conversation about a bloody hole in the ground with Scott and Kevin. As much as I love you boys, what bloody hell, what a realization that is. All roads have led to this day. This is it, boys. This is why we're here, man.
Kev looked genuinely disturbed and like the realization had set in.
Yeah, sometimes you see too much of the game. Like, you know, you get a grip on what reality is, but then you get too much of a glimpse and you think, nah, I just want the steak, man. Just give me a steak like in the Matrix. Just give me it. You know, I don't care if it's like gooey porridge. I want to see the steak, Scott. You know, is what it is. Is what it is. So,
all hail the Matrix. All hail the opening. All hail the tunnel into the darkness where we all tried to get back into, especially the men.
Yes, well, I'm still kind of perplexed about this Phrygian Valley in Turkey.
The Phrygian Valley definitely is something we're going to have to look more into and dig into, no pun intended.
Right. It is, it's kind of crazy. Are you ready for a story? Well, we have a story. Is it time for story time? What story?
Yes.
And
let me get my blankie and get all snuggled in.
This is definitely, folks at home, this is a brief interlude. Turn down the lights. We're going deep. We're going deep woo here. We're going deep woo.
And then after the story, I've got some information pulled up on the dumbs here in Kansas.
Nice. And by that time, we can pass the duchy to Kev, and he can take us into some mythological underground people. That sounds like a plan to me. Freaky Friday never plans. It'll go wrong, folks. But we're going to go to a story about Aberdeen. Only it's not what people will be thinking. Alright? So it says this may be a violation of military protocol and a breach of national security. I don't care. Shh, don't tell anyone. I don't think my superiors care either. None of us know what to make of what we found lurking in those dark waters. And none of us want to be the ones to decide what to do, for fear of making the situation worse. And all I can do is outline what happened and hope that someone who understands what the hell is going on reads this and can do something about it. The Aberdeen Proving Grounds is a facility located in Aberdeen, Maryland. Not Aberdeen up in the northeast, you know, Ken. But like, so it primarily, or its primary function, is a testing ground for military equipment, primarily explosive ordnance, but it used to handle chemical weapons as well. The facility has a wide variety of test ranges, allowing for testing and training on air to ground, ground to air, surface to surface, air to water, and underwater explosives. It's the last one that's the source of the current situation that leads me to question what we know about reality. I was first made aware of the super pond when I took my current position at the base. This pool is a 860 million gallon pool that's roughly circular, 1,000 feet across, and 150 feet deep at its deepest point. Now it's connected to the Chesapeake Bay by a man-made canal. Its primary purpose is to allow for testing and training with underwater explosives. As such, boats are often brought into the pond and sunk during the tests, and underwater structures are sometimes constructed for various tests. As such, it's necessary to perform regular maintenance on the pool. This usually means dredging out debris, but also entails making sure the pond remains structurally sound. To do so, we often send divers into the pond to make sure everything is alright. Well, after reviewing reports detailing what's been going on over the course of the last few months, I can assure you everything is not alright down there. Roughly 3 months ago, we performed a test involving a new kind of explosive. I'm still not entirely sure about all the particulars because of the details were classified beyond my clearance level, but from what I've been able to tell, these were supposed to be cutting edge stuff. Something about high energy reactants generating some kind of high order quantum reactions that result in something else or another. One of the researchers I tracked down tried to explain it to me in layman's terms, and as I understand it, the explosive was supposed to create a bubble of a type of matter that's some kind of cross between a gas and a magnetic field, which then is ignited into a hot plasma by a wave sent through it. The upshot is that this stuff was supposed to basically create explosions inside the target, blowing it apart from inside out. The test was conducted on a platform of water, or on the water, out in the super pond. This was apparently because the reaction wouldn't travel through water, so they could better get an idea of how effective it was on a target without any collateral damage messing up the results. The official report I read stated that the test was conducted, but the rest of the report is missing the usual details, even for a non-classified report. However, now that the base staff is all comparing notes, I've talked to someone who observed the test, and I understand why they didn't include the details in the report. They'd have been fast-tracked for a Section 8 discharge, and I suppose that's somebody that's lost their mind. It goes on to say the test firing occurred early in the morning, just before dawn. They had floated a metal barge with a test device in the centre of the pond, and several sensors were arrayed on the barge and shoreline. When they flicked the switch, the observer said, there was a delay before the explosion. But in the delay, he swears he saw an air ripple travel inwards towards the device before a bright flash and a loud boom. Waves kicked up and the barge was tossed about. However, when they could see the barge again, it appeared to be totally intact, without so much as a scorch mark on the surface, while the explosive device was no longer visible. Now, while this was deeply unusual, it wasn't until they pulled the barge into the canal dock that they saw how weird. Apparently, when they pulled the barge out of the water, they discovered the bottom of the barge had a huge crater in it. It resembled an exit wound from a gunshot, but there was no hole on the other side of the plate, not even a pinhole one. The explosion apparently had occurred under the device, just under the surface of the metal barge, and travelling downwards in the water. The test sensors showed the flash of light had unusual qualities, something about contradictory wavelengths and possible colour band gaps. Testing of the barge and air around the site showed no signs of radiation or particulates, but did register an unusual pressure wave in the instance between the trigger and the actual explosion. The scientists marked the test as a failure, but said the data would be enough to keep them busy for a while. For the next couple of weeks, the pond sat empty. That isn't to say, however, that nothing happened there. Base security reported hearing weird noises in the vicinity of the pond, usually low booms. When I pressed a couple of them about it this week, they added that there were other things that they had heard but didn't include in their reports. These were divided into two categories. The first group was described to me by one guard as the sound of rushing wind, but backwards and inside out. I'm not sure what the heck that means, but the other guards I talked to said that was a good description. The second group was odd flashes in the pond. Now, most of the guards had chalked these up to tricks of the light or their eyes, since they were usually very brief and had an odd quality to them. Again, when I pressed, all I got was some gibberish, this time about the lights being at the wrong depth of vision and angle for them to be appearing where they were seeing them. Move forward to 2 months ago, when we had a training exercise involving some underwater demolitions practice in the pond. I won't elaborate on who, what, or how many, since it's not relevant to this story, and while I may be disclosing top secret information, I'm not giving out any more than I feel is necessary. What I will say is the people involved in the operation were people I would consider very level-headed, calm individuals whose job description involves remaining cool under pressure and relaying accurate information about their surroundings under pressure. So please understand that when I relay the next part of this story. Here we go.
Wow.
Good stuff, eh? Good stuff. I told you, Scott, dug up some
Yeah.
good woo, man. We had dropped an underwater structure designed to be a mock-up of something else, of their target, into the center of the pond. And their training was make the dive, ascertain how the target had settled, and demolish it with the minimum amount of surface disturbance. This meant necessarily that they would have no data about conditions at the bottom of the pond. To further enhance this, we postponed a couple of maintenance dives till after the operation in order to ensure there was no data about the actual conditions down there. The trainees were to dive into the canal and make their way into the pond and to the target site with no surface contact till after the operation had been completed. Now, that particular exercise went off without a hitch, but the reports filled by the team detailing their dive were deeply troubling. It started with a section about the unusual currents the team had encountered upon entering the lagoon, cross currents, eddies, and the like. Not the conditions you'd expect in a man-made pond with only one connection to tidal water. A couple also noted unusual temperature variations over the course of a couple of yards. But most disturbing was the report from the team leader, who had included a bit on the excellent job we'd done in giving them an unexpected situation to work through. The addition of coral reefs to the bottom of the pool had forced them to circumnavigate their way to the target, and was a type of thing that could catch a team off guard in the field. He did note, however, that whatever we'd painted them with had killed the effectiveness of some because it had glowed faintly in a variety of colours, making it easier to avoid them in the dark. Now, this was startling because we'd put nothing down there like that, and moreover, this was a man-made body of water and was far too cold for coral to grow in besides. After reviewing these reports, the maintenance team decided to send a diver down to see what the heck's going on down there. Armed with an underwater camera and full dive gear, he descended into the centre of the pond just after noon, around 12:45. There was a long, low, booming sound, and waves formed on the surface of the pond. The diver became unresponsive to tugs on his safety tether at this time, and the decision was made to pull him up. At 12:52, he was hauled from the water, and it soon became clear that he had passed. His underwater camera was missing, and he looked like he had been struck by a truck. His body was like a rag doll, and the autopsy showed that almost every bone in his body was broken. Not just broken, but splintered, actually. It was ruled that he had accidentally stumbled across an unexploded ordnance and he'd been erased by the resulting concussion wave. Underwater explosions are even more dangerous than on the surface because water is a far better conductor of pressure and increases the force of the explosion beyond what it would be in open air. So 3 weeks after the diver passed, after additional safety training, another closing the barn door after the cows got out activities that follow a tragic event, lots of paperwork, we sent down 2 more divers to perform some delayed maintenance in addition to trying to find what the training exercise had seen. This time they were outfitted with breathing hoses rather than diving gear and were tethered to each other for additional security. Everything was going smoothly until 2:15 p.m. when I observed unusual lights under the surface of the water in what I judged to be the vicinity of our divers. What I noticed most about the lights was the quality of their light. They seemed to be very dim and pulsing, but the light didn't seem to be refracted by the water. It was like I was looking across a very wide empty field at a candle flame. The lights seemed to move slowly, and it was impossible to tell how many of them there were. They simply moved closer together, encircling something. Too late, I realised what this meant. All at once the lights went out and there was a thunderous boom and a plume of water shot upwards from the pond where the lights had been. I'd been too mesmerised by what I was seeing, and I will never forgive myself for failing my 2 fellow servicemen that day. When we pulled them up, miraculously one of them was still alive, despite massive blunt force trauma wounds. As we rushed him to the shore, he strained to speak, but all that came out of his broken whispers about living lights and growing down there. By the time they managed to get him to the hospital, he had succumbed to his injuries. After this, the brass at the base went into full damage control mode. No one was allowed in the pond till the situation had been evaluated. Of course, how they planned to do this without going down there was anyone's guess. As the safety reviews and records searches of what had been tested in that area of the pond were undertaken, I came to a decision. I made a terrible mistake that had cost the lives of 2 men, and I somehow had to atone. A review of the previous month's accident confirmed my suspicion. The incidents had occurred in roughly the same area, and so I decided to take a blind, guilty shot. A late night dive with only a shine light would prove to me that my decision had been the correct one. I was on the floor of the lagoon for less than 30 seconds before I found what I'd been looking for. As I recovered the item, I noticed a faint glow starting to grow behind me, and once I had secured the item, I didn't even spare a backwards glance before I dropped my weight belt and rocketed to the surface. The next day, I took the crushed camera that I had recovered from the bottom of the depths to the IT department. I convinced them that it was my own personal underwater camera that I'd stupidly backed over with my car, and that I'd owe them big time if they could extract the vacation footage that was in it for me. They happily obliged, and I was in the room when the guy managed to get the memory connected to a spare PC. What we saw when we viewed the footage is not something I'm ever going to be able to forget. The footage starts off with the surface check of the camera cutting out and coming back when the diver had gotten down far enough to warrant turning it on. The next 10 minutes after this document, it documents the coral reefs that had been previously reported. These were unlike any growth that had ever been in Earth's waters ever before, of that I am sure. They grew in tall pillars with crystalline, jagged edges. As the diver's light played over them, they reflected a rainbow of colours, but predominantly yellow, orange and pink. They seemed to be spaced evenly, roughly 10 feet apart from base to base, in a grid pattern. These towers ranged from 5 to 15 feet tall, with the taller one showing signs of outcroppings and mushrooms at the top. After 10 minutes, the diver cuts his lights for a moment and it becomes clear there's an ambient glow in the area. Most of it is soft, yellow, orange and pink glow coming from the towers, but there are other colours, occasionally interspersed for an instant, like a light being swept across the area. The camera is then moved sharply till it comes to rest on what looks like a light floating in the water. Well, light isn't the right word. It looks more like a lens flare that is hanging in the water. I'm not sure if this is what it actually looks like, or something about the digital medium or the camera prevents it from recording what is in the centre of that halo, because the pixels at the centre of the concentric circles appear as their garbled error pixels you sometimes see when a video has a missing frame. However, once the camera shifts enough or the light moves, it's possible to tell which from the camera angle the pixels snap back to normal. The camera follows this light for a moment, then it moves again, revealing more of the lights floating around the cameraman and more approaching. They float around him, bobbing up and down, slowly circling. Some of the lights move away from him quickly, and others move in slowly to replace them. You are inextricably drawn to the conclusion that there's some kind of intelligence guiding them, like a school of fish, unusual to humans and thus more curious than afraid of the unusual creature they see before them. Then we see the cameraman's hand reach out and touch one. All of a sudden there's a bright flash and the footage ends. A frame-by-frame analysis of the footage seems to show the light halos begin to contract as the hand makes contact with them. Then as it contracts, the eroded pixels at the centre, there's a rolling of water and a bright flash expands out from the centre. The last time displayed by the camera is 12:45, the time that the boom was heard. We're almost at the end. I don't know if I'm going to get it in before we finish, but this is the footage that was presented to base's commanding officer last week, and it's where we stand now. No one knows what the hell to do. Some people want to drain the pond, others are against that, saying that we don't know what's going on down there. They point to some analysis of that failed test 3 months ago and say the footage from the camera somehow indicates that these things are related to that. They maintain that the water in the pond might be the only thing keeping them stable, and that removing the water might cause catastrophic results. Others are saying that the water is keeping them contained, and that if we remove it, they might get free, while others say if we let it remain, they might escape into the waters in the bay. Oh, ooga booga. We'll be back on the other side. Don't go anywhere, folks. There you go. There you go. Now I need a drink of juice there before we finish this on the break. Well, we'll finish it on the other side. That'd be cruel to the audience on the radio.
That's a wild woo-filled story there,
but not too fantastic.
No, it's I like it.
It wasn't any like, what would you call it, Leviathan coming out of some pit at the bottom or anything like that.
I mean, all it sounds like
you were talking about.
You guys go for. I'm going to the toilet. I'll be right back.
I mean, all it sounds like to me is that they pierced a hole in the veil, and something is phasing in and out, and something's going on down there. But yeah, what do you think, man?
When he was talking about this story, it reminded me of 3 years I did pool construction, and part of that pool construction, I had to put on diver's gear, air tanks, and all of that, and we'd have to go and spend hours trying to find cracks in the concrete of these pools. And when we would go to fill up our tanks, we went to this one place, and one time the St. Paul police dive and rescue crew were there filling up their tanks. And so we started talking about, where you've dived and what you've experienced. And they were telling us about some of the lakes in St. Paul, Minnesota, that are so deep that going down there towards the bottom, that there are fish that could literally take your arm in their mouths. And to think about that, imagine going even deeper, like they're talking about these stories. And, we can only start speculating on this because we only know what 7% of the ocean has been discovered or realized what's there.
It's even less, Naysay. I think it's only 4%. We've like observed, and so I mean, it's crazy that we know more about the surface of the moon, and more about the surface of Mars than our own oceans.
Allegedly, of course.
Allegedly.
Here we go, boys. Here we go.
Yeah.
Hang on. Come on. Play, dagnammit. It's Leslie has sent a super chat. Thank you so much, Leslie and Jules tonight. Leslie
Jewel of
said,
the
Kev
Nile.
and Scotty, awesome woo. Enjoy it and love PPP. And I'm trying to play it, but for some reason, it's not playing ball, and I ain't happy. I just ain't happy.
I think when it does decide to, you're gonna get the old repeat going on with it.
You're right, and you.
Total shout out to the chat rooms, and remember to share, comment, like, and tfrlive.com and Discord. Thank you all for they've been so cool to me, Kev, and I appreciate it so much, brother, for giving me these wonderful opportunities of sharing my wisdom.
Brother, we enjoy your wisdom. I knew that was going to do that. I knew it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kevin Scotty awesome woo. Enjoy it and love. PPP.
Yep. I knew it. Yep.
Is it
Kevin
selfish of
Scotty
me to
awesome
take that,
woo.
Kevin?
Enjoy it and love.
It's,
PPP.
It's me literally dressed up as a pineapple, and not even I can take that anymore. Here we go. Let's bring it back. Yes, indeed. Big shout out to everyone who's tuned in to today's Freaky Friday. Truth Frequency Radio, the home of Freaky Friday, and shameless plug, it's the home of the Kev Baker Show as well. Join me Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday, I join forces with Scotty. Kevin comes along. We sometimes bring the Jimmy in. It's a smorgasbord of aptly strange characters to bring you some strange content. Boy, oh boys, it's been strange tonight. We're gonna finish the story we started before the break. There's only about two paragraphs left or something, and Scott's gonna get into some of his stuff he's got. But don't forget, okay, it's great that you're here today. We're here for Freaky Friday, but you'd be doing me, Scott, and Kevin a huge solid if you just hang about when we finish today, because Paranormal Portal, if you like Freaky Friday, it's like a no-brainer. It's a total no-brainer. It's like Tuesday follows Monday. It's just natural. It's the way it is, you know?
Hey, it's like peanut butter and jelly.
Nice.
It goes together. And yeah, I mean, you show Brent some love, people, because if you're into the woo, that's where it's at, man. Brent is the woo master. So
I feel guilty because sometimes I feel like I'm cheating on Paranormal Portal because I've joined Brent many a times, and now I'm here with you, Kev. So I hope he still loves me because I love Brent and Donnie. It's quite enjoyable. So definitely share that experience.
Are you a podcastitute? Do you just fling yourself around all these shows, Kevin? Do you just pass yourself around these shows? I don't know, man.
My services are $9.99, and I'll give you a 50% off coupon.
Nice. And podcastitute. That's definitely a bakerism. Dave claims
Yeah.
that he's made a word. I don't think it's going to catch
Yes.
on much. It doesn't really fit many people. I suppose people that like go on Joe Rogan's 4 times a year or so. Podcastitute.
Podcastitute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you witnessed it here first, though, people. Kev invented an entirely unique term.
Hey, credit goes to Dave. Thank you very much. Dave's taking that one. Dave
Pimp
stepped
Daddy
in.
Dave.
Big
Yeah.
Daddy Dave. Daddy Dave. Here we go. Anyway, that was getting a bit
BDD.
weird. So it says here, right? Remember, this was going to like sneak out of the pond maybe if they were taking the water out. Say, so nothing is happening. Well, nothing is happening above the water, I should say. You see, I've been part of the group assigned to monitor the lagoon, mainly during the night shift. Oh my. So I've noticed that, as of 2 days ago, there's now a soft yellow, orange and pink glow coming from below the surface on the far side of the lagoon. Like something is slowly coming towards the surface. What's worse, though, is that it's also slowly spreading out. I estimate it's only a couple of days now till it reaches the canal doors. Every day my view becomes a little more fatalistic. Honestly, we don't know what we're dealing with here, and I'm starting to think that everyone here is too frightened to be the one to make the final choice. Maybe the growth will stop at the doors. Maybe the light things, maybe the light things really can't exist outside the water. Maybe it'll stay below the waterline. I think our only hope is that inaction is the right choice. Because I'm starting to think that when it comes to looking into the face of the unknown, the action we humans prefer is to hide our eyes. Oh. Blah, blah, blah. Whoa. The creepy pink, orange, purple monster. Blah.
I'm gonna speculate what comes out of this delight in the darkness is gonna be the creature from the Black Woogle Lagoon.
Hey, the Black Lagoon. That's it, the Black Lagoon, man. Whoa, hang on, there we go. There we are, we're back, boys. There
The
we
Black Woo Lagoon.
go. I like
Yeah.
it, man, I like it.
A black lagoon.
It might be something like Godzilla, but it's a woke Godzilla. He's pink, he's orange, he's a flamboyant. Hey, booga booga. That's what he's gonna say,
Yeah.
man.
See, we expected Godzilla, but we got Barney.
Yeah, hey, Barney.
Or would it be
See him crashing out of the, stomping out of the bay. Hey, kids.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? If a Barney
I
walked
love
up
you, you love me.
Eh? Damn, Scott, come on, man. Get us back in. Take us back underground, dude. I'm pressing the button, but the elevator's not working. Come on,
But
man.
oh, that's right. Tell us, Scotty, about Kansas.
Well, I mean,
We're not there anymore.
Oh, no. We're definitely not. So I was trying to look up and see if I could find any information about the dome that supposedly is located outside of Wichita, but I'm actually not seeing much on it. But I am
that
seeing.
makes it super secret squirrel.
Yeah, like, because I mean, this is something I've heard about, but I'm not seeing it listed on a lot of these little sites here. But let me pull up this.
If I may
Well,
suggest,
but-
Kansas underground plant program in a search engine. But I'm sure you got something else for us. Sorry.
Yeah. I've got, well, the one that everyone seems to be talking about is near Atchison, Kansas. Let me go down here. Hey, I'm on this site that has some of this listed. Okay. Hutchinson, Kansas. Okay, here's a couple of locations. So we have Hutchinson, Kansas, functions has unknown tunnels to. Now this is what's claimed. Okay, so this underground facility in Hutchinson supposedly has tunnels that connect it to Kinsley, Nebraska. And then whoever provided this person information said, I received this report concerning this base. It says, I can vouch for the underground base in Hutchinson, Kansas. The entrance to the tunnel is underneath Hutchinson Hospital. Interesting. Okay. So it's located underneath Hutchinson Hospital, and it's huge. I was walking down that tunnel when I was a kid, and at the end of this tunnel is a rock face wall with a 90-degree turn to the right. I stopped and I refused to go any further down the tunnel. My instincts told me to stop. I distinctly remember hearing screams coming from down there, is what this person said. These were not just cries for help, but more like blood-curtailing, horrifying screams, like someone had just been done in, let's just say.
Whoa.
I really wanted to know what was and possibly still is going on down there. And it says, you're free to report the story, but please keep my name anonymous. Number 2, Kansas City, Kansas. Entrance near Worlds of Fun. Oh, wow. Now, this is interesting for me. I've been to Worlds of Fun. That's a theme park in Kansas City.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big destination. I've been to Worlds of Fun. Okay, so there's supposedly an entrance near Worlds of Fun. And there's no other further details on that. Okay, number 3 is in Kinsley, Kansas. These are tunnels that supposedly lead to Colorado Springs. Okay, so they lead from Kinsley, Kansas to Colorado Springs, Hutchinson, Tulsa, Cocoweef Peak, Southwest California. And the notes on that are gold stored in huge cavern, blasted shut, known as the Midway City because it's located halfway between New York and San Francisco. So that's interesting. Now that's all they have listed there. There's also supposedly one in Atchison, I believe. I'll do some more looking on that. And then the one near Wichita. Now the one near Wichita I've heard about since I was young. So I mean, this was something that like I didn't just hear about recently. I mean, this is something that was talked about, like my grandfather had hinted at it, and I've heard a lot of people say that there was a deep underground military base just outside of Wichita, and
Scotty,
that
how many do you think of these noises? Remember the strange rumbling noises and sounds? Do you think that could be coming from activity like what you're describing there?
Well, I was going to bring that up earlier. I mean, we have this phenomenon known as the hum, right?
Yeah.
Where people hear this low frequency rumble or a humming noise. Now, you would probably think that if you had a gigantic boring machine that was grinding away at the rock beneath you, boring a tunnel, that it would create a constant low frequency rumble or a hum, right? I've always wondered if a lot of these mysteries noises, not so much the horns, I guess you could say, or the screeching sound in the sky, but the more lower frequency, or a lot of people say it sounds like an engine or something rumbling, right? It would make a lot of sense if something, like I said, if something like that was underneath and just boring through the ground. That's going to transfer that vibration, and even that sound's going to transfer up to the surface at some level, and maybe that's what some of these noises are, is that they're expanding this underground tunnel infrastructure and connecting more of these bases or building more of these bases. I'm totally on board with that, as being a possible explanation for some of these sounds.
So if we continue on with this, and come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. If you remember in the Gulf of Mexico, when we had this alleged huge oil spillage. So what if with these deep underground boring equipment, machines that they have, because some of the speculation is that they literally have bored from the ocean holes that are big enough that submarines can go into them and pop up underneath the middle of the United States. And one of the allegations, and I didn't get too deep down this tunnel, is that that's what happened with the Gulf Stream, because as they were boring these tunnels, they hit a oil, what's it called, where there's a big oil find, and that erupted, and that is what was causing all the oil in the Gulf of Mexico.
Who knows, dude? Could easily have been. I would imagine there's a few places where you get submarines coming into the coast. I could easily see how they could disappear into some underground canal type system. Oh yeah. Again, when you're able to do these tunnels and things, take your pick what they could be doing. What they are doing, I don't know, but what they could be doing, oh hell yeah.
I've got a little more information on the site in Atchison. So I'm on some forums here where somebody was asking about underground bases in Kansas, and somebody replied. He said, I worked at the daily newspaper in Atchison, Kansas in the early 90s, and was shown a massive underground cavern system that served as a dry storage site for basically micro film backups of national records. Adjacent to the caverns were what were clearly missile silos next to the Missouri River, with typical venting. There appeared to be at least 4 silos. The site is likely controlled by military at Leavenworth nearby. Many local people have been there and testify as to the massive and complex site. Secrecy would suggest there was something to hide as usual, and no one has an impossible time discovering exactly what to do there. So they know that there's a facility there. And somebody else has given a little more information on it, but it's known as the Atchison Caves, and yeah, it seems to be one of these locations where COG likes to store supplies and stuff in case things hit the fan. But it just shows, look, these things appear to be pockmarked all over the place.
Well, definitely something in the chat room saying New Mexico. And hey, listen, shout out to Anne. Dave says a big hi to Anne. And Anne, is that dopamine working for you right now? You see what I told you, Anne? It's all about the dopamine. You're feeling really good right now. Everyone's saying hello, aren't you? I'll call you out, Annie. I'll call you out.
Oh,
And hey, get back to work. I'm sitting here working. You should be at work right now, sitting watching YouTube on night shift. I don't know. The underground base for her, boys.
Hello, Ann. How are you doing? How are you doing?
Give her some
Yeah.
dopamine,
Don't forget.
Kev. Come on,
Don't
girl.
forget Pearl.
Oh, Pearlie's listening as well. Are we just going to hand out dopamine right
Mama
now?
Pearl.
Well, can I give some to Scotty's mum as well? Because I know she's an avid lover of the woo. And even if she's not listening live, now Scott can bait her in. You can bait her in, say, we gave you a shout out. So big shout out, Tana. Yes. Hats off.
Yes.
No, I can't take my hat off because my hair is really bad, but and working. You can't be working if you've got your thumbs busy typing.
I'm gonna
in
keep
the
my cap
YouTube
on.
chat. You see what I'm
Hey.
saying?
Look. She's a multitasker, Kev.
True. Unlike myself, who can't even handle one task at a time, she's probably telling everyone. But New
So
Mexico.
can I share my?
Yes, go for it.
Oh, sorry.
Kev.
Go ahead.
I was going to
So-
ask you. Well, I was going to ask you about any of these. Was it project? Did you call it power plant or project plant?
Um,
Project plant. I think it was.
underground plant program.
Well, how about New
Excuse me.
Mexico? Somebody in the chat room asked New Mexico, but I think the simple answer to that is, if you name a state, you're going to have deep underground bases.
Now,
Yes.
now, will before Naysay gets into his thing, I will mention. I mean, the world's largest salt mine was located here in Kansas. At least there's massive amounts of salt because we were the bottom of an ocean at one point. Remember, I was talking about all the sandstone that is just beneath the surface when you start digging here. You start digging with a shovel, and all of a sudden you're like, thunk, you hit sandstone. And
Now, Scott, sorry, but I have to. From Pearlie. Hi, Scott and Nacy. She does this to me all the time when Bill's on as well. It's like she messages me like Bill can hear it. It's funny. So she's literally talking to you guys. I'm just like a conduit. Bush telegraph. I'm just sending it on, boys. You know.
you're just a node in the system.
I've become a node in my own network. Oh man, what a conundrum.
So-
Scott, I don't even know who's got it. Scott, take it.
So in Hutchinson, there are these huge salt caves, massive, and they store stuff down there. They're the largest salt caves in the United States, I believe. You might look it up, but if I'm correct, they're the
Scott,
biggest.
I was going to make myself look clever there. I was going to bring it up without you. Come on, man. Come on.
But
Damn you.
from a strategic standpoint, Kansas is like the perfect place for storing stuff underground, because we have these enormous absolutely massive salt caves. You can see them, man. It's crazy. So
That's spectacular.
yeah,
Like
look
I
at that,
say,
man.
like a different world, man. And come on, dude.
Well, and then the west of the state of Kansas, you start going into the mountains. So
Yep.
absolutely, they have to have some underground there. And like we were speculating earlier, and I believe it, that if it's a state or if it's a city that has more than 50,000, there's going to be some type of underground facility. And my experience, when I was going to University of Minnesota on the West Bank, I used to love going down by the river. And so one time I was going down by the river, and all of a sudden I saw these truck after truck after truck filled with dirt. Just like, what? Where the heck is this coming from? So then as I keep going further, next thing I know, there's this constructed road that I'm like, I've never saw this before. So I go up this road, and next thing you know, about 500 yards down this road, it's going into the side of the cliffs that are right there by Minnesota River or the Mississippi River, going right underneath the University of Minnesota West Bank. And so there's a huge tunnel, and I started going down it, but then all of a sudden I noticed all the cameras on the inside wall. Plus I was by myself in my wheelchair. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to continue down this route. And so then I looked into it, and I found out that the University of Minnesota was creating an underground archive storage area. That's what they told us. And so I asked a friend of mine, I said, hey, can you go check this out? And this guy's a daredevil. He's willing to go where no man will go before. And he said that he walked down that tunnel for a good 20, 30 minutes before it went anywhere.
Wow.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy, the vastness of them. It's literally mind-boggling. I've pulled up something here before we go to the break, because with the audience asking about New Mexico, and Scott, me and you last night, we were definitely getting into a New Mexico type base when we were talking about Dulce. And then I just found this over on the Express. It's a 1-minute clip of who we listened to last night and who we opened up the show today about with Phil Schneider. So we'll take a little listen to this about what may or may not have happened underground. Here we go. Give me 2 secs here. Turn this music down. There we go. Okay, need to unmute the site, Kev, just like that. There we go.
Military's known about the alien question for the better part of 70 years, and they first saw their glimpse of what was going on as early as 1909 in the American Southwest. Now, Army cavalry evidently were chasing some bandits, and they entered this cave. They were holed up in a cave, and what they found in there was flying discs and little gray guys and all kinds of weird things, and they didn't know how to explain that, and they wrote them down as best they could, and it's been in secret archives ever since. And it's up down by the Truth or Consequences area of New Mexico. Well, the alien thing is more than just what I'd call a non-visible threat. We on the surface, first of all information dealing with alien or alien reproduced technology or alien reproduced vehicles or any other kinds of things well hidden from the American public. Our black budget, for instance, garners $1.023 trillion every 2 years. It's over $500 billion a year. Right now, there are 131 active deep underground military bases in the United States.
You know, you think about this as well while we're going to break. We always talk about how they like to play games, they like to occult things out the way, they like to distract us. You know, maybe the whole time that we're looking up in the sky at UFOs, maybe that's to stop us looking at what's down beneath. We'll be back after the break. Don't go anywhere, folks. Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. There we go.
They can tunnel through this break.
We are going to quantum tunnel through the break. So we are. There we go. Sorry, boys. Sorry, boys. The boss is checking in. Boss is checking in. Now we've got a super chat. We've got a super chat. This is definitely a hilarious super chat that we definitely want to be playing. Let me try and get it going here.
Is it a hilarious one?
Yeah, it's gonna come on twice now in a second because that's the way it's working. And like, there I am. Look at me. God. Isn't that a cool pineapple suit? Isn't it? I think I look really cool.
Look at those knees.
What's happened to the sound? No, but there we go. Thank you, Lance. Ryan.
And Craney's Cheeseburger Fund.
That's why it's the funniest one. And I'll let it play again because that's quite good. I like that. And Craney's Burger Fund.
And Craney's Cheeseburger Fund.
Cheeseburger Fund. Oh, Lance, you know her too well, my friend. You know Annie far too well. Yes.
We got to get her some bison burgers.
Oh no! Usually when we used to go into like the winter market, they'd have the bison burgers. There'd be buffalo. There was everything, right? Kangaroo burgers, you name it. And she used to look at me when I would say I'm having a bison burger, and she'd give me that kind of look like I was some kind of Neanderthal. Did it ever put me off? No, it didn't. No, it did not. No.
Yeah, like you were some kind of Cro-Magnon savage.
Like I just made my way out of the primordial soup with Fred Flintstone club in my hand or something. I know I'm toxic, but I'm not prehistoric. You know what I mean?
Every time we go to this place here in town called the Blind Tiger, I always got to get their brew house burger, bison burger. Oh, it's so good.
I need to pull you up for this. I'm gonna shame you. You know what he does to me, folks? You know what he does? He knows I like a nice burger. He knows I like going to like American-style diners. So every time Scott eats out, he doesn't post food pictures on social media. No, he tortures me with them. And I end up getting all hungry and munchied. And then I look at what we've got to offer in Scotland, and I think deep-fried Mars bar, it's just not going to hit the spot, you know?
I know that Kev... He loves to take a gander at some of the food portions we get at some of the places that we have.
I'm a visual connoisseur of food from around the world, as we've all become with social media. It's amazing how many dinners you can see.
I'm excited because tomorrow I have a few native brothers from the res coming over.
Nice.
And we've already planned to get some bison burgers from that place I go to all the time.
See, look at that. We're working. We knew that, Scott. See, we were there. We were tuning in the Bush Telegraph, man. We were picking up bison burgers. See?
Every time I think about going vegetarian, my daughters will cook up some ground bison, and it's like, nope, not this time.
Yeah, exactly. That'll change your mind real quick if you trying to go vegan. Take a bite of a nice juicy bison.
Vegan. Don't
God
swear
bless
at
them,
me.
but
Don't
hey,
swear at me.
I got to give them props because I have friends that are vegan, and I don't know how they do it.
Vegan.
Yeah.
We don't do vegan in Glasgow.
I tried it for 2 months.
Here we go.
2 months.
Here we
That's
go,
all
Kev.
I could take.
2 months to the tip. I tell you. Here we go. Yes, the final segment already of today's Freaky Friday. Right here on Truth Frequency Radio, www.tfrlive.com. We're going all the way around the world, and I hope you've enjoyed this show so far. We've got one segment to go, and then we're going to hand it off to our good friend, Brent Thomas. And I hear him. He's firing up the Stargate. He's trying to connect with the mycelial network that takes you from this world into the other world via his paranormal portal. Do you like that, Scott? Come on now.
Did Brent go downstairs into his underground bunker to fire up paranormal portal?
Everyone knows a portal is best opened underground, sir.
Yes.
That's some creepy ass music, that, isn't it?
Well, as we were starting earlier, when we were bringing up the United States Air Force and their deep boring tunnel machine.
Space Force. Sorry, I just heard you to sing that.
Exactly. The United States Air Force, supposedly in the air, what are they doing underground? And so if you think of the creatures of the air, the birds, the language of the birds, and we think of the creatures underground in the tunnels, the snakes, the full spectrum, one side being the birds, the other side being the snakes. And next thing you know, we have that "don't tread on me," that symbolism of the eagle with the snake in his talons. So is that constant dichotomy, that positive and negative, that oscillation that we find ourselves in these tunnels into a oubliette.
You know, just while you're talking, I'm thinking of something else, and we'll try and play a super chat here. It's going to jump in at the most inappropriate of times. You're going to hear something like playing music in a minute, folks, but don't worry about it. We know what's happening. But, I mean, have either of you boys, there he is, Kev dancing around. Listen, I should really have shouted that out shamelessly at the start of the show. If anyone wants to see me making an absolute bum of myself on YouTube, you just need to pay me money. Literally pay me money, and that music will play. You'll get a little message, and you get to see me dancing about as a pineapple.
Peace and love, my brothers and sisters.
And that's not Dave, that's not Kev, that's Brian, the multiple personalities of the YouTube channel. I'm telling you. But if either of you watched
life
the
of
man,
Brian,
if I not the man in the life of Brian, but the man in the High Castle. Before I get confused here, if any of you watched the man in the High Castle,
I still need to watch that, but it is on my list because of just the whole timeline woo situation.
yeah, it's a different world. It's a totally, folks, speculation island, okay, but in this other fictional timeline, reality, one of many worlds, the bad guys absolutely won, and they've got technology that they keep underground, right? And it's like this crazy bright light flashing away, and you know what that crazy bright light is? It's the bridge or crossing point between this world and all the others. And they do it with magnets and things underground and that.
Exactly. I was just going there. Sorry.
Okay, take it, man. Take it, dude. Take it.
So if you go into the center of a magnet, you can see a light come out of that darkness. It's just like if you've ever witnessed a tornado funnel cloud occurring. It's not super clear because it's kind of weird in the hue and there's a cloud cover, but then all of a sudden in that clearness, all of a sudden you see this black tunnel just form out of nowhere, where it's a clear, all the way up to the clouds, it's clear, but halfway between the clouds and the surface, all of a sudden this tip of that tornado just forms and it's black. So you see that blackness instantly happen in a clear day. So you'd think at some point when you go deep enough into the darkness, there's going to be the delight you find.
Oh, I like that. I like it.
Yes. Now, another thing that these deep underground facilities, or just being underground in general, wouldn't you say, Kev, that probably being underground and shielded from a lot of the particles and everything bombarding the surface, that would probably cut down on a lot of the decoherence that would occur if you were going to be running some kind of a quantum experiment or quantum computer of some kind, that you would want it in a deep location that is shielded.
That's why they you're bang on, Scott, and I'll back you up, right? Because they've got the experiments where they test for neutrinos, and then they do it like under mountains, so that for that very reason, if something penetrates, it's like I think it's a gas that they've got, if something then goes through that and disturbs it, they know they've basically had a neutrino, because nothing else makes it down that far.
Yeah.
So that to me tells me that what you're saying is, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you're able to shield yourself.
So to add to that, so if you remember the movie Close Encounter of the Third Kind, and I might have shared this before.
Loved it.
That was Devil's Tower.
Yeah.
Devil's Tower got its name because it was actually called the tower where the spirits would talk to. And if you look into the metaphor of how it was created, it adds to the Seven Sisters, the Palladians.
Jacques Vallée is actually in that movie. Sorry, dude, but did you know that Jacques Vallée, the UFO dude, he's in that, isn't he?
Yes. So when they figure out the code of the music, the Ba, 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 ba.
Oh,
When they
love it,
figured
love
that
it.
out, they figured out that it was a GPS coordinate. And they show it on the screen where they type in the GPS coordinate. And according to what they say in the movie, it shows Devil's Tower. But then if you actually take that digit, if you screenshot the movie, if you take that number and put it into GPS coordinates, it gives you the location of the Denver airport.
Oh, and Denver Airport. Is
The
of course.
Denver airport is known as the world's airport. It's known for its underground military bases, but not only that, most of their hangars are made from this polymer that is anti-electrostatic, to where the cover, if some kind of like huge EMP weaponry happened or if some solar thing occurred, any vehicle that's underneath these hangars allegedly will survive these occurrences.
They it's almost like they designed it to be a giant Faraday cage to shield.
Exactly.
It's a very strange shape from above when you look at it a certain way as well.
Yeah. Look at that. That's
Anywho.
And
then you've
that
got
number.
but I'm looking at the kind of rail track under it here, Kevin, but when I see that, I'm thinking, yeah, cool, this is the train that the public take, but there's probably an R track that goes deeper down, and it's probably maglev technology. You're probably talking like something like a pneumatic tube, where you see like you fire money along, it's just there. Like you look at Tesla's thing, that kind of technology in his tunnels, shooting people to the destination, hyperlooping it, you know?
The bizarreness of what I just shared with you is that when that number was shared in that movie, this is before the Denver airport was even known to exist.
Oh, we've got the Denver airport stuff here. I like them though because they play up to it. Remember they had the talking gargoyle and things in the airport? It would say like it would welcome you. Remember that?
Maybe instead of trying to be like overly defensive about it, and then they embrace it, and
make it so obvious that all right then it can't be. Oh, but it's a double bluff, man.
Yes, it's a double bluff.
Back to the beginning, when we were talking about Phil Schneider, and then I was telling you about how I went down this tunnel from William Cooper, his book. Behold a Pale Horse, the Denver airport, the white horse with the demonic eyes.
Yeah, that's right.
And William Cooper, he talked about the underground military bases like Area 51, and allegedly we had an agreement with the extraterrestrials that as long as they shared with us what they were doing, we'd be fine and dandy. But he alleges that we actually went to war with them, and this is one of the reasons why we had these nuclear bombs in the desert, that we were actually fighting with the extraterrestrials and trying to get them to go back below world or off world.
Deep woo.
Indeed.
William Cooper, that is this has been we've been everywhere tonight, boys. This has been like a good topic. We've managed to stay on topic for the full show as well.
Yes, it's like I said at the beginning of the show, man. You get into the topic of dumbs. I mean, that branches out into so many different. It spreads out into so many different rabbit holes because there's so many different things that connect to the dumbs. No pun.
May I ask you a question? Since we've discussed this for almost a full 3 hours, what is your speculation of why they are there?
Just for strategic reasons, like you say, continuity of government, if there's any cataclysm, secrecy as well, if you're wanting to hide something, you put it underground. Various reasons, numerous,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a multifaceted thing. I don't think there's any one particular reason. I'm sure most of these facilities are used for multiple reasons.
That's Area 51 there, Scott. Sorry, just while you're talking, you can see the wee in shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Go
you
on,
think
Scott,
about that,
Oh, sorry.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, because Scott, you were going to finish off what you were saying about their purpose, you know, and then you can get yours, Kev.
No, I think some are, continuity of government where, top officials will be ushered to in case of some kind of a cataclysmic event, whether it be a nuclear war or some kind of a natural disaster, or anything that requires, for them to flee and, try to survive or whatever. We don't even know what private individuals have built. Like, think about what underground facilities do some of these corporations have? And they're not obligated to tell anybody what they're doing. Right? Oh, go ahead.
My speculation is I would humbly, and I'm the stupidest man that I know, but I would suggest doing a Google search of Alternative 3, because if we remember on that day of September rhymes with Kevin that occurred, the day prior to that, Donald Rumsfeld reminded us that trillions of dollars, poof, vanished.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I've done a show on this with Ben Emlyn Jones before. Alternative 3 is a television programme broadcast once only in the UK in 1977 that is, folks, and later broadcast in Australia, Canada and New Zealand. Well, there's another 3 of the Five Eyes then, so that's 4 of the Five Eyes in there. As a fictional hoax, an heir to Orson Welles' radio production of The War of the Worlds, purporting to be an investigation into the UK's contemporary brain drain. Alternative 3 uncovered a plan to make the Moon and Mars habitable in the event of climate change and terminal environmental catastrophe on Earth. Now, 1977, folks. The programme was originally meant to be broadcast on April Fool's Day, 1977. Double bluff? Just saying. While its broadcast was delayed until June the 20th, the credits explicitly date the film to 1st of April. Alternative 3 ended with credits for the actors involved in the production and featured interviews with a fictitious American astronaut. The programme was presented as an edition of an Anglia TV series called Science Report. The intended transmission was April Fool's Day, but it seems Anglia was unable to obtain an ITV network slot for the programme on that date due to the striker action labour disputes. The script was written by somebody called Chris Miles and David Ambrose. Music supplied by Brian Eno, and a portion of the score been blah blah blah. According to the research presented in the episode, it was hypothesized that the missing scientists were involved in a secret American-Soviet plan in outer space, and further suggested that interplanetary space travel had been possible for much longer than commonly accepted. The episode featured an Apollo astronaut named Bob Grodin, played by Shane Rimmer, who claims to have stumbled upon a mysterious lunar base during his moonwalk. Wow. That there, I do think, even it was my mum and Frank, my stepdad, when we were playing Scrabble, my mum was saying that Frank had been watching one of these documentaries about the moon, about how Neil Armstrong and Buzz, when the camera wasn't rolling, what they were up there to go and have a look at and go and see. And that's the thing with the moon, isn't it? Again, that void. There's just so much you can speculate about it, but how much can you pin down, man?
Here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and get the juices flowing again before we go.
Damn, dude, this is good stuff, man. We've only got 3 hours. We need longer. No, we don't, Gio. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me.
So when we talk about colonizing Mars or a new planet, what are some of the ideas that have been proposed, Kev? Especially whenever we talk about going back to the moon and building bases.
We're gonna use like lava tubes. We're gonna like go underground, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So if the tendency, let's just say this is a common pattern that
Well, I'm digging you. I'm digging you,
civilizations-
man. I'm digging you.
Let's say this is a
Pun
common
intended.
pattern
Got my
that
excited face
civilization.
on and everything. This is when I get excited. Oh man.
Let's just say this is a common pattern that civilizations who manage to branch out from their home world follow, right? That they manage to make it to another planet that could potentially foster life. Maybe there needs to be a little bit of terraforming involved, right? Like in the case of Mars. And so while that planet is uninhabitable at the surface, you're either going to have bases on the surface that are going to be extremely hard to maintain, or you're really going to have to make sure that they're built very well and will be able to sustain themselves up there. Or B, you're going to use the natural geologic formations that are already there. You're going to utilize cave systems. You're going to go underground, or if you can't utilize, you're going to actually bore underground and create some kind of an underground base. So here's what I'm getting at, Kev. Here's what I'm starting to cobble together in my mind. If we're finding these underground tunnels and these underground megalithic sites that date back, possibly 1 million years or whatever, and this is all located underground, maybe we'll entertain, we'll throw in a little bit of ancient alien theory and all of that stuff. What if the original inhabitants of Earth, who came down, decided to terraform the planet to better suit the new hybrid species, if you will, that they are going to create? The initial
Like a face crawler.
Check the length of your pinky. Check the length of your pinky.
What if a lot of these initial inhabitants, the ones initially colonizing the planet, had to be located underground because the it wasn't yet habitable on the surface. It wasn't conducive for them just yet until they had the conditions just right, or that they created their hybrid species that could.
Flip it round, Scott. Flip it round. Me, you, Kev. We're on Mars. We've been there with Musk. He's sending us outwards. We're looking at an exoplanet. We get to the exoplanet. We're surveying it. You better believe it'd either be underwater or underground if we're going to set something up, Absolutely. Yeah.
If we think of the movie Total Recall, and they went to Mars, they showed us those boring machines. They showed us those biospheres, because we know that for the human to survive, it has parameters that it can only survive in. And so if they find an underground opening that's big enough to make a biosphere, why would they not?
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you, man.
I'm ready to go to the jump room.
Here's the thing. Perhaps the tunnels and everything that we talk of down here, similar on Mars. I can't ever get away from the factoid that when you look at Cairo, the actual Arabic for that, it sounds in our language, or it looks like Al-Kahiri. And then you find out that that means like the base of Mars. Why did Egyptians choose like the base of Mars? It's like you never hear about the pyramids or the complex or the Sphinx being anything to do with Mars, yet Cairo, the city that sprung up around it, called it the base of Mars or base to Mars. That doesn't make sense unless they knew something that we don't. You know what I'm saying? So
no, I'm with you, and I'm leaning towards that they knew something that we don't.
yeah, I think we might be right there. Yeah. We're almost there, boys. We're 4 minutes away. Scott, final thoughts, then Kevin. Then we'll pass it over. We'll fling it to the paranormal portal, man.
An amazing topic that even with 3 hours, we're just scratching the surface of. I mean, because it ties into so.
Inner Earth. Didn't even get into Inner Earth or any of that, you know?
No, I mean, we kind of touched upon it. I mean, I do like my little theory or hypothesis, if you will, of some of these dumbs being these kind of neutral halfway points between, you know, possibly these entities that are underground and the surface world, the surface dwellers, Kev. But hey,
let me throw this at you before I forget it. Right? What if the money pit? It's not treasure down there at all, dude. It's like an ancient underground base,
dude,
that the Templars were trying to get to. That's why they built layers all the way down, so they didn't, you know, they could keep going. It wasn't like some trick. They were trying to get to the reptilian layer under Oak Island.
I was about to say, what if they get to the bottom of the money pit and it opens up into a
cascading shower of demons?
It ends up being an entrance point that they wanted to seal off for whatever reason.
I've got a funny feeling, and fans of the TV show Lost, you're gonna like this, because at some point they're gonna get to the bottom of the money pit, and what they're gonna find is a room and a man and a button, and it's gonna be Desmond, a Scottish man called Desmond, and every 8 minutes and 46 seconds he has to press a damn button or the whole world won't exist anymore. And he's going to say, thank goodness, Rick and Marty, I've been waiting for you for, like, forever. And then, you know who he's going to talk to first? He's going to give his world-exclusive interview, not on the Kev Baker Show, not on Freaky Friday, but to Apex TV on YouTube. There you go. You knew it, Scott. You knew it. He's a fake time traveler.
I knew you were going to drop the Apex on everyone.
Kevin, take it out, bro. Take it out, man. Kevin, Nacy, take us out, my friend. Have we lost Nacy?
Wherever you are, thanks for being here with us on TFR. You superstars. Remember to come back next week so we can go deeper with the woo, because it's just the tip.
Oh, I'm telling you, he of the woo is Kevin. And you of the woo out there, it's been a pleasure, it's been a privilege. Now don't go anywhere. Brent Thomas is going to guide you through the portal. What portal? Paranormal portal. We're out of here. Until next time, wherever you are, make it TFR. R.
Do not touch that dead.
There we go. There we go. Like the rogue pilot I once was in one of my various spawnings in this simulation. I hope I was a pirate in one of my other lives, man. What a life. I was thinking about that the other day.
Hours.
Yeah, well, I was watching that, is it Black Sails? Is that the name
yes,
of it? Yeah,
fabulous.
Dude, that is
Loved
absolutely, that's cray, man. I can see myself having a good time back then. I'd have fitted in with the pirate scene, Scott. Bit of a rogue, bit of a character, you know?
I see myself, Yeah, I fit in with the swashbuckling scoundrels. Definitely.
And then realization
Try-
hits me, Scott. Right? Because if we are in a simulation, then what's the chances that I played a similar role to the one I'm playing now? If that's the case, I might have been in the military. I'm a bloody redcoat. What's that all about?
And I was on the high seas because I thought it was highly motivating for me to be there.
Well, if you're playing the same role but in a different time, Kev, then you served as a redcoat for a little while. Then you got out, and then now you're trying to spread that American Revolution vibe across the rest of the world. You're an OG truther.
Do you guys remember one of the very first times, Kev, that I was on Freaky Friday? You guys opened up the lines, and I came in there talking about pirates. And I was talking about how the founding fathers, that they were pirates and they were dealing with pirates. And that was kind of like the first time I remember being on Speculation Island or sharing.
Oh, that reminds me. Thank you, Kevin. I would have forgotten. I'd have been really kicking myself if I forgot. But it dawned on me. All of this chatter about Speculation Island, and I forgot. I knew I'd forget. I've been doing so much on the island, you see, that there's just so much going on, so much activity, from building the tropical Sitchin's Kitchen, the one that's, the Moon franchise and things. Still got to ask Popeye if he's going to bring his chicken to work in there. But, Scott, I was clearing away some jungle just back from the beach, and I found a hatch. And it's kind of like Lost, but I'm thinking, when it gets really, really, like, cray-cray woo. Like, sometimes us boys, we lose our mind and we go way into the weeds, like, way into, like, whoa. How deep do these rabbit holes go? Sometimes I think that's when we're up our own rabbit hole. But anywho, that's when we can take to the speculation bunker. Speculation, we've actually got a corner, a safe bunker for when it's like the Manhattan Project, right? We could set the atmosphere on fire with combustible.
You're telling me that Speculation Island has its own dumb?
Yeah.
We have our deep underground military base?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Look how...
But me just being a wee guy, we've actually just got a sum. It's just a sum. It's just a shallow underground...
Wasn't that Hangar 18?
No, non-military base. Hangar
With
18.
Popeye, though, it must have been...
Oh, now, listen, Kevin. Listen. That is like...
don't bring Popeye into it.
No, but listen, like, Hangar 18 is like a Mandela effect, man. Not everybody even believes that Hangar 18 existed, because if you didn't hear it, and me and Scott have to describe it, it's easy to actually come to the conclusion that no such show could ever have existed on the internet. Because that's how dodgy it used to get, folks. You're talking about as far removed from political correctness as heaven is from hell. There was no group of people that was immune from, like, really, really cutting comments, Scott. We didn't care.
It was completely uncensored,
to the point where it got outrageous. We were like an early taste of what the internet became. The internet turned into Hangar 18. Nobody noticed. There you go.
Hangar 18,
did you guys notice?
No, go ahead.
Did anything go dead for you guys?
Nope.
I literally just lost like 5 seconds.
Trust me, me and Scott have got you, dude. We caught you, man. We pulled you back. I've got you anchored here, man. But listen, boys, it's 3:02 a.m. That sounds like the start of a really crap country song or something. I would sing it, but I can't sing. Not tonight. Not tonight, Josephine. But boys, we're gonna call it a day. We're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna thank everyone for being here. Thank you so much for all the super chats. That is again, hat off, figuratively speaking. I'll be back on Sunday for sures. I need to reschedule with Dr. Brian Keating. That didn't happen today as scheduled. No biggie. Don't panic, it's coming. Just need to reschedule. Sunday, Warrior Mode over on Bill Bean's channel. And then back in the hot seat for KBS next week. But tomorrow, Saturday, usually don't do anything. However, over on KBS 2, I think we're going to have a After Dark. I like this whole getting creepy. 3 creepy stories for nighttime, Scott. It's pretty good.
It's a big thing. I noticed. You know, there's some good channels out there where they read some creepy pasta, go through some interesting stuff, and
I've listened to enough creepy pastas over the years, Scott, where I know that kind of content. It's appealing to people, and I like it. You know.
Yeah, you're perfect for it. It's well suited for you. I mean, that's perfect content for you to deliver. So,
and it's safe, my friend. It's safe.
Indeed.
My addiction for the dopamine, and thank you, Kevin, as I've shared many times. I appreciate it.
I feel like a dealer of dopamine, man. I've had Anne in here harvesting stuff. My mum, she comes in for her burst, her squirt, as Jimmy calls it. I tell you, man.
Well, when I go to Bakersville and I meet all the residents there, those that just come through every now and then on Discord, it's phenomenal. And tonight, as I've shared with some of those people, we were going to go to Bakersville in the Discord. So we continue the conversation and we continue to praise you, our captain. So thank you.
There's no
for
captains.
many of us.
There's no captains on our rudderless ship, Kevin. Joe Joseph's the captain of our ship. They don't call it the USS douche canoe for nothing, you know. Boom, boom. He's just the captain of the douche canoe. There you go, folks. That's as much a song you're getting tonight. It's a totally made-up song. But big shout-out to Joe and Ange and the family. Bush Telegraph style. I hope right now, Joe, you're about to, I don't know, maybe you're doing the toilet. And listen, folks will be thinking, why is he saying he's doing the toilet? Joe Joseph is a weird individual. The only times he's ever called me FaceTime, it's been really weird because it's like usually a very sterile, white-looking background. There's like an acoustic to his voice, and many's a time I find myself 2 minutes into the call going, "You're on the toilet again, aren't you?" And he just bursts out laughing. He phones me when he's on the toilet, so hopefully he's sitting there right now, and he's saying, "Why am I thinking of that horrible little Scottish guy?" And it's Joe, shout out to you, man.
You know what? Yeah,
I shame him. You're right. You know it.
Yeah, you're right. I think Joe is probably rearranging his mason jars right now. I think that's what he's doing.
Is it mason jars or is he a mason with a jar? Oh, good rumor to start. Cover your eye. 33 Joes and all the rest of it, man.
33 Joes.
Oh, wow. 33 shades of Joe. Can you imagine that? You could do 33 photoshops of Joe like that. There's more than 333 out there. Every one of them equally beautiful. Yeah.
I could imagine that if more people would like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, you can do that. What a great idea, eh? One of these days, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'm going to take tips off you, Kevin. So listen, folks, on that note, let me reboot the terribly creepy music. I don't know why this one. No, not that one. This one's disturbing me now. It's like, you know what I picture? See those little creepy girls in The Shining? The 2 little girls holding hands at the end of that creepy corridor.
It's the music that has that creepy, the little knickknacks, that you wind up and they spin around and make the little song. It's all got that creepy.
And that clown is the creepiest clown I have seen.
We all float down here.
Oh, clowns. Clowns, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be thinking about clowns on your way out of Freaky Friday today. Look at it. Oh, it's a smoking clown. Smoking clowns are even more disturbing. Yeah. Oh, very, very creepy. And on that note,
Come play with us,
oh,
Danny.
there's something on the screen now that you don't want coming to play with you. Oh, scary. So listen, on that note, let me thank you all for being here. And remember, it's imperative. Keep your mind open. Keep looking.
What happened to...
Keep your mind
There it is.
open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.
Come on, man.